Welcome to Pensar Basketball Live. The first post-game live of the 2024-2025 season starts with a win. The Raptors going 82-0. You heard it here first. Okay, the Toronto Raptors faced the lowly Washington Wizards, an abysmal team, but it was evenly matched because the Toronto Raptors were without Scotty Barnes. They were without Immanuel Quickley. They were without Bruce Brown. They were without Jacoby Walter. And for my money, all four of those guys are probably in the rotation. Who started in their place? Probably two guys who are not going to be a part of the rotation, which is Davion Mitchell and Jonathan Mobo. And the Raptors got out to a huge start. They jump out to a 13-2 lead behind RJ Barrett, who would later leave the game with a shoulder contusion. It was a destruction. It was the Raptors beat the Washington Wizards in a stop the game. What is happening here? Can we please put pause on this? It was nice to see because there are some NBA players on this Wizards team. I hate to tell you this. They're probably going to be the worst or second worst team in the league. For my money, they're going to be really bad. And they traded away two of their best players, Denny Avdia and Daniel Gafford last year. They're really bad. They're really young. However, they feature a whole bunch of high lottery picks, and the Toronto Raptors don't. The Raptors don't. And with RJ Barrett leaving the game after, I believe it was 14 minutes of game time, very easily you could say, hey, if the Wizards with Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, apparently Kyle Kuzma thinks the league history could not possibly exist without him, Jonas Valanciunas, if these guys really wanted to make it competitive, surely they could have made it competitive, but they didn't make it competitive. The Raptors lead wire to wire. I don't think the Washington Wizards led the entire game. They didn't. The Raptors led by as much as 33. The Toronto Raptors just obliterated. Let's take a quick look at the stats. This is a call-in show. Definitely call in if you'd like. And I'm gonna give you some takeaways, bro, because there's some hot takes that are come out of this one. Let me give you one hot take. Jamal Shead can hoop. I was going nuts watching this guy. If you understand basketball, you understand Jamal Shead is an NBA player. And he was in the upper echelon. He was in the B tier of prospects that I looked at the other day in terms of prospects of consequence. I, after seeing him play, and I know it's against the Wizards, this guy's got a dog in him. But there were some moments, right? There were some moments, a little late clock situation. There was the shot that Bilal Coulibaly blocked, but he cooked Alex Sarr a couple times off the dribble, just finding nifty little things. I was so impressed with his defense. I think Grady Dick looked amazing. I really did. I think Grady Dick really stood out. I understand Jonathan Mobo and Urish Shamshay left a lot on the table. Urish had, I think, if I read you Urish's like box score, I think you're gonna flip. Hold on, let me pull that up. It's a legendary one. In 6 minutes of game time, Urish Shamshay managed to get 2 points, 3 turnovers, 4 blocks, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. Okay, per my money, he was on his way to a triple double, and they iced him. Okay, let them know you're here. You know that was an old trick in the book. If you're an end of the bench guy, you commit a turnover when you come into the game. You let them know that you existed. All right, Urish Shamshay let us know he existed. He had a lot of good moments and a lot of really bad moments. He's very, very, very far away. But I'm telling you, this kid works hard. He's going to figure it out, and he's going to be really good at some point. The Raptors have taken a flyer on a very long-term prospect. And you know what? By the time he figures it out, he'll already be on his next contract. And at that point, you have a real diamond in the rough. I'm telling you, his athleticism, his speed, the way he approaches the pick and roll, these things are going to get a lot better. But what you can't teach is what you can't teach. I could take a prospect who's a bit slow footed. I'm not going to make him 18 years old. I'm not going to make him a bullet train. And you can't really teach a kid how to work the way he works. I mean, he blocked that shot. He's trying to block shots. He's falling over his feet and stuff. So he was just really anxious. In terms of just, the overall feel of the game, I think the Raptors guarded so much better than we've grown accustomed to them last year. Like, my God, the pickup point was higher. There was a lot of ball pressure. There were a lot of early turnovers for the Washington Wizards. I think the Wizards got a competent performance out of Alex Sarr. really. Just, to take a look at the Wizards side, I really didn't think anyone stood out all too much. Um, you had a 16 points from Jordan Poole. I think Bilal Coulibaly looked great. I think coming off the bench, Keyshawn George, he had some family in the stands. I think he was competent. Like the three looks great, and yeah, I mean these are some really highly touted prospects here. Johnny Davis is he's a former lottery pick. Bub Carrington had a tough go at it, right? But I'm impressed with him, and I like the way he moves around the court. But he had a really cold shooting night, 1 for 8. Anyone else really sticking out? Not really, not really. I'll be honest, not really. Alex Sarr again, just looked a lot more composed. I really like how he got into his shot. It was great. Hey Brian, what's going on? Appreciate you and good luck. Good luck on the season. Chat, give a W to Brian. Y'all know him. And yeah. Okay. Cass saying W Brian. All right. Overall, the Raptors. We gotta talk about this. And this is a call-in show. Definitely call in. Okay. Yo, this team looked connected, right? It looked connected. I like that. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that the ball is humming around. I appreciate the fact that guys are cutting and screen. There's a lot of communication errors right now. You know, if I wanted to look at something that really was great, I think the energy and the connectivity was great. I think overall, I like the compete level on defense. There's a lot that was made about Jonathan Mobile, right? He airballs the first shot, which was a turnaround jumper. And then he airballs what was a layup. And I think he got blocked by JV. He finally got on the board a little bit later. But a lot of people are like, hey, what position does he play? I'm going to look at it differently with Jonathan, right? This is a major step up in competition level, size. He is a little undersized. He's going to have to find little angles to get his shot off. He's not super strong. He's not super huge. He is undersized. When you're an undersized guy at any position, whether you're Jamal Shead at the point guard spot or whether you're Jonathan Mobile at the power forward or center spot, you're going to be undersized, and if you're undersized, you're going to have to find angles to get your shot off clean. And he doesn't get separation, and they're able to. There's no threat to short. There's no threat to really score with him. But I like some of his playmaking. I like the fact that he can dribble in transition. I like how quickly he makes decisions. I like his overall compete level on defense. I like the fact that he crashes the glass. I like the fact that he was not missing box out assignments. So overall, yeah, it's going to be a work in progress. You didn't get a ready-made superstar at 31, but please understand, like athletes like Jonathan Mobile don't grow on trees, right? And he thinks the game really well, right? Is he overthinking it right now? There might be a little bit of that. Why don't y'all let me know who you want to talk about? Just throw some names, and we can definitely get into. The only thing Fred has over Shed is shooting. Don't get carried away. Davion. All right. That's Jaden saying Davion. I think Davion played really well. I think overall, like the playmaking, the speed of decision making was good. However, that did not stop me from literally saying, I think I said it. I mean, I said it last live. I think by the end of training camp, Jamal Shed will have outplayed Davion Mitchell for the backup point guard spot. And in this game, I think he did it in about 2 minutes. I think it took 2 minutes, and I'm like, all right, I know which of these players is better. The passes are just a little bit cleaner. The decisions are just a little bit better, a little bit faster. There's just a little bit more burst and separation. Jamal Shed looked fast. Anyone else notice that? It's hard to talk about Davion without talking about Jamal Shed because they do so many similar things on the court. Obviously, there was he came up a little bit gimpy, right, with the hamstring. So, we'll see if that becomes a lingering thing. Hopefully the RJ Barrett thing is not lingering. And hopefully get to see Scotty, RJ, and IQ in action next game against the Wizards. Scott plays 2K saying he was flying super quick. Facts. He was. I really liked it. I think DJ Carton, overall, I mean that was another player that he looked good, but he don't look like a point guard to me. I think the offense looked a little bit disorganized with him. I'm gonna tell you, like the players that really like, if I had to give you players that really stood out as being overwhelming. I'm very encouraged. Grady Dick, right off the bat, right? Grady Dick, Ochai Abaji, right? Those are two guys. Jamal Shead, Kelly Olynyk, Jakob Pertl. I'm gonna say those are my guys right now that I had almost no gripes with what they were doing. RJ Barrett, it was a little bit of, a tale of two sides. The good was very good, the bad was very bad. Let's talk about RJ Barrett because he was obviously the best player on the court, and it showed. He had 17 points in 14 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Is that accurate? Yeah, he had 17 points in 14 minutes. He was a huge part of the scoring load early on. I believe he hit the first shot of the game. I mean, I took some notes here, but like I thought his defense wasn't great. I thought sometimes he got stuck, holding the ball for an extra dribble. Some of the passes were very, you know, like it was just over leveraged, right? He had 3 turnovers and they were all really bad turnovers, like either live ball turnovers. It just they didn't need to be that way. So both he and Grady were basically, and here's the complication of this. You're playing in a lineup with almost no spacing, right? I think that that is the complication here. If you start Jonathan Mobo, and I'm not really sure who you could have started in his place because there is no backup to Scotty Barnes. It's Scotty Barnes. If you go away from Scotty Barnes, it might be Bruce Brown. When they're both out, you're fucked. So if you're gonna go with Scotty at the power forward, if you go Jonathan, that's a massive drop off. Teams can just sag off. So now RJ is just attacking the paint, and his team is basically playing 3-on-5. You have Jonathan Mobile and you have Davion Mitchell on the court. That's a lot of 3-on-5, right? Davion is not a huge scoring threat. Neither is Jonathan Mobile. Neither one of them are necessarily like putting any pressure on the defense. And so a lot of that onus is going to fall on RJ and also on Grady Dick to create a lot of offense and for Jakob Pertl to create a lot of screens. And so I understand that, it was a lot like playing in a phone booth. And I think RJ played fine. Overall, his decision making is still a little bit more too much oriented towards ball stopping. And while I understand that that may have been his role today, I really hope that once you get better playmakers and a little bit more spacing around him, that he'll have a cleaner time scoring. Overall, I think he's moving a little bit better than I saw last year, and that's a good thing. That's a really great thing. And there were a couple of good passes and there were a couple of really bad passes. So I'm really hoping that his decision making and his overall basketball IQ is accelerating at the same pace that the rest of his game is. Because sometimes he takes a dribble into 2, 3 defenders and he doesn't read where the defense is gapping open. So Daryl saying RJ needs to take that defensive step, especially if he's going to be playing small forward. I like him better at the 2, to be honest. Yeah. Thoughts on Ochai? I thought Ochai played great. I really did. I mean, overall, he was plus 16. He was 4 for 7 from the field. He had 2 assists. I think he was really intelligent cutting without the basketball. He had 9 points. It was a plus 16 on the court. I think he was just, yeah. What's RJ got to do? I think RJ has to move off the ball a little bit quicker overall. I think he needs to just be a little bit sharper with some of his passes and have more responsibility. He's not on the star level of playmakers. You understand? Like, if you put Jalen Brown in his position, he's going to make a lot of the same mistakes. And Jalen Brown was just Finals MVP. There are certain guys that are just not oriented towards high load playmaking. Scotty can do high load playmaking. He can generate like 100% of your offense and he's not going to really run out of ideas and options, right? But sometimes you overload a player and you underload their space and you start to see a lot of like, whoa, what do I do? What do I do? And then, seeing things late and throwing things late and missing, their teammates. This is also, and it's worth saying, he's also playing with some new players here, right? He don't really have a lot of experience playing with Mobo. He don't have a lot of experience playing with Davion Mitchell. So maybe some of this is a chemistry thing as well, right? So I think that that is part of it. Ocean God saying Davion Mitchell was very impressive and explosive offensively and defensively. I think his overall impact on the game was good in terms of leadership and intensity. He led the entire team with a plus minus of plus 22. I just noticed that when he came off the court, like I noticed a clear gap in overall effectiveness and talent between him and Jamal Shead. I don't think Davion played bad. I don't think Davion played bad. I just think Jamal Shead played amazingly well. Like I would be tempted to say I think Jamal Shead was like the best player for us on the court. It was between him and Grady. So Grady Dick, of course, really good floor game, really good overall floor game. Like he had some great dimes, right? He had 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and 10 points. And this is the vision, right? On the one hand, you have the movement shooting, you have that off ball cutting, but now you're getting better finishing. You're also getting creating. You're getting a little bit of that rebounding. You're getting a little bit of that push and transition. So I am seeing in Grady Dick like a real sub star type of, prototype. I'm not saying he's there and he's not even close right now. He's going to have issues matching up physically with bigger players. He's probably going to get pushed around a lot, bumped off his spots, go through cold streaks and etc. But man, confidently speaking, like it's not any it's not common. Let me put it that way. It's not common for a player who's 19, 20 years old to already be this good at this many things, right? Like that dunk, that alley oop that he threw to Jonathan Mobo, like he threaded that. Like that was quick. That was easy. Like for him, there's some natural playmaking chops with him, right? Like some of his reads, like even his ability to pull up, right? This is something that took Tracy McGrady like 4 years to figure out, you know? So I just think that basketball IQ has been a great accelerator of talent before. Grady has a lot of talent. We saw a lot of his talent through summer league. We saw it last year, but it was like tough to put it together, right? He's getting bumped off his spots. He wasn't really being able to match up physically. He wasn't being able to get around screens. Guys were just bumping him. Now he's stronger. It's a little bit harder to bump him off his spot. And I think he's just that much better, right? Like I think once you put him next to Scotty, like the space is going to open up. Those gaps are going to be even wider. You add Immanuel Quickley in there, even more space. You add RJ Barrett in there as the other wing, it's even more space, and he's cutting into space. And then Grady doesn't even you can't even focus on him the way they focused on him today. And it's funny because on the other hand, for the Wizards, we saw Corey Kispert, and Corey Kispert is a player that Grady has often been compared to, especially in the pre-draft cycle. A lot of people said, "Well, Grady's just going to be another Corey Kispert," and I think you saw just how big a gap. Like I don't mean to ride on Corey Kispert. Obviously, he's a much better player than what we saw today, but hopefully you can see the gap in size, talent, and overall acumen, right? Nice one saying Grady better than Corey. He might be, and he's a lot younger too. Anthony Edgar saying Grady just needs run. Yeah, sure. Okay, we got Coach Mo, and we're gonna try to keep calls quick. But if there's no further caller, we'll just keep the call going. So if you want to call in, link in, and we'll move through this. Coach Mo, how you doing, sir?
Uh, it's great to have Raptors basketball back,
Yeah, it
man.
is.
Yeah. While watching the game, I've thought of many things, but one of the things I thought was, man, our media is just given they just hammer talking points home. They're almost like bots. Like they just wait for opportunities to present said talking points instead of just, telling us what's going on. Anyways, Vince Carter sitting next to Jack Armstrong.
Oh, you caught that, huh?
I think we were all. It was very awkward because when Matt Devlin talked to him about his 20-year career and how you can't play that long. I think he played 22 years. You can't play that long without loving the game. And the Jack's right there, the guy who questioned his love for the game, was very weird. Um, and what I didn't like about that was just our media. And it's like Vince has to be the bigger guy, Scotty has to be the bigger guy. They're just vultures who just like they hate you one day, they love you one day. And I love Vince's answer. His advice for Scotty was just be yourself. AKA, these people are vultures. They're scum of the earth. Do not succumb to them. Be true to yourself, because whether they like you or hate you is irrelevant. If they
Honestly,
like
you
you,
could
they like you. If they like you, they like you. These guys
honest
have, I agree
honestly,
with you.
you could tell Scotty to be somebody else, and I don't think he's gonna know how to do it anyway. It doesn't really matter. I don't think he really needs that feedback. He's always gonna be himself.
Yeah,
He's told you that since day one. He's like, "I'm always gonna be myself." When he wasn't ready to hold the leadership tag last year, what'd he say? "We're all leaders."
yeah.
Now he's ready to hold it. You never have to, I was just telling somebody this today. I love people where I don't have to guess where I am with you. You just tell me, you know? You'd be like, "No, I'm upset about this," and that's cool. I don't have to guess. I don't have to read. I don't have to wonder. It's nothing. Scotty's just very transparent. You know what I mean? He loves his teammates. He loves to win. That's what he's about, and that's all it is. You know what I mean? Like these people, they want to change him into something that he's not. That's fine. What'd you think of the game?
Um, I agree with your statement on Grady. The alley oop was just on point, perfect. Even before that, there was the bounce pass to Abaji in transition, right?
Mhm.
Something about Ochai Abaji. That guy can't create a lick of offense for
Yeah.
himself. Like
Good.
absolutely nothing. Even you have to give him wide open looks. Like you have to spoon feed him like a baby. Like he has no teeth. He cannot chew. Right?
Yeah,
Like
but
he is.
I
He
think
is. He is.
I think he played pretty good today. I mean,
I
honestly, like,
agree, but
I
it's
think
just
he
like my
his
goodness.
cutting, his screening, and I think overall his defensive effort and connectiveness, and I was somewhat impressed. Did he throw a pass or did I miss that? I think there was, like, a pretty interesting pass that he threw that I was like, "Alright, he's seeing the game a little bit better." Like, I don't know, like, the NBA college jump is really big, and I noticed this today when I was watching the WNBA playoffs, right? And I've been working for a very, very long time on trying to speed up my reading of the game. When I mean that, I mean like I want to be able to see every single play in real time. I don't want to have to slow it down because a lot of the times I have to rewatch shit and it's laboring, you know. I would like to just get to a point where I can watch it all. And then today when I was watching the WNBA, I could see everything. And I'm like, it's because the WNBA is slower. Players are slower, players are
Yeah,
smaller.
yeah,
It's because it's slower, I can see everything. I see everything when it's happening. I know exactly what action is happening. I know which cutter is supposed to. I know which guy's which woman is lost on defense. So I'm like, all right, let me see if this holds up with the NBA, and it doesn't. I'm watching the game and I'm like, shit, pause, wait, what happened there? Okay, pause, what happened there? So one thing that I'm realizing is if it's hard for me stepping up from college or WNBA to NBA in terms of my watching, it's the same thing when you're playing. The speed. And with Ochai, it's just like the speed is so fast. Do you notice with Urish, there was this one play towards the end where he was literally next to his man, but he lost his man? Like, he's
yeah.
standing right next to him and he's looking for him. He just lost him.
He's not in his field of sight,
Yeah, he just
in his
couldn't see him.
immediate sight. Yeah,
Exactly. He was just right outside his
yeah.
peripheral and he just lost him. And Cass saying yes. Like, it was hilarious, but it was also endearing because that's the point. Because he lost his guy and he couldn't find him again. And that's why, like the great players, they don't lose their guy. And there was also a play, if you remember RJ Barrett losing Kyle Kuzma on the dive backdoor, right?
Yeah, with Mogul, the miscommunication. Yeah, I
Right.
thought Mogul should have switched. If you clearly see your teammate got clipped, you just switch.
Facts, right?
That's on Mogul.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like between those two, there wasn't but if you switch that and it's not RJ and Mobo and it was Scotty and Jakob, that gets swallowed up in 2 milliseconds. Because those two would have known how to switch that. They would have
Yeah,
known how to
yeah,
communicate it. And Kyle Kuzma ain't beating either one of those guys backdoor because they're just too alert. And that's the speed of the game, right? And so I'm looking at guys like Ochai, and I'm like, the game's got to slow down for him. Yurish, same thing. Game's
yeah,
got to slow down for him. Jonathan Mobo, like I think just offensively, he had the yips almost, right? Like it felt almost like he was a little anxious. He's not getting like great lift or separation, and his moves that were working in college. Like I watched a ton of his college games. And it's like, you weren't touching this guy's shot in college. But now those angles have to change. Like the speed of the release has to change. Everything's got to speed up. You think you beat a guy off the spot, like you see it, like he's off the dribble and he goes, and it's just like the guy cuts him off, and he's like, shit, this used to work. That's the whole point. This is not college anymore. You need to actually take like an accelerated up. And that's why so many college players, like how many great college players have we seen? Oscar Shibwe, Drew Timmy, like all these guys, and they're nothing in the NBA. So this is going to take like a massive development. But the lucky thing for Jonathan Mobo is he has that athleticism, he has the intelligence, and he
Mhm.
has the motor, and he has the frame, and he has the basketball IQ. He just needs to speed it up. All these guys need to speed it up. But I was impressed by how quickly things were happening for Ochai, like mentally, like defensively. Okay, missed read. Okay, how fast do you recover?
Yeah.
Offensively, okay, you cut, you don't get the basketball. Where do you go? Where do you relocate? Now you have the basketball. How quickly are you making the decision to either drive or shoot? And it's like everything was happening faster. And I was very impressed because he looked better today than he looked at any point last year.
And I agree with Abaji.
Mhm,
And what I want from guys like Ochai and then Mogbo that can't self-create,
mhm.
if you don't have anything, get off the ball quickly. Just get off the ball because you holding it is generating absolutely nothing. You
Absolutely.
have no bag, get rid of the ball. And players that can't self-create or aren't playmakers at all, if you hold the ball and you have nothing for more than 2 seconds, you should be benched. What are we
Mm,
doing? Like, what are we doing? Right?
yeah.
Dribble the ball, have someone come get it. Shed versus Mitchell is the first thing you talked about. So Mitchell's 4 years older.
Yes.
He's 4 years older, which wow, I was like maybe 3, 4. Wow, okay. Um, the only reason you would have Shed in the G League to me is one of two things. Either you're tanking or you want um Ulrich to have a solid lead guard, guide his development, and not throw
Yes.
him out with scrubs.
And that actually, I think, was largely a problem for Urish in the lineup that he played. He was playing without a point guard.
Yeah.
What do you think of Brandon Carlson? We'll get back to Jamal Shead momentarily because I think there's so much to talk about with him. I was actually, I'm thinking about like who I was geeking out about the most, and was it Grady or was it Shead? But it was definitely one of those two. Like by far, it was one of those two. Like
Yeah, it was those two. Those were the top two guys, yeah, for
in
sure.
in terms of like what was sticking out to me, like Chris Boucher, I haven't mentioned him once. I'll say I'm happy he's back in Montreal. I'm not trying to be a hater. It's the same. It's the same player.
Yeah,
It's the
he's
same
yeah,
player.
nothing
There's
different.
nothing different. It's the same shit. It's the
Yeah.
same reads. It's the same thing. I hope he keeps making that shot. That's great. He's a stretch big. It's funny. I was watching it and I'm like, Alex Sarr, Chris Boucher. The difference, Alex Sarr is probably a smarter basketball player right now. That's and he's like 19 years old.
Yeah.
So I man, and it's pissing me off too because the Raptors could really use a Chris Boucher, like a really live wire rim protecting athlete who can run in transition and just fill lanes. And if he could hold a screen and if he could make a good read in the short roll. But like what I'm noticing is like almost every big that's playing for this team has some short roll potential and some shooting potential and a decent grasp on basketball IQ. But yeah, what do you think of Brandon Carlson,
I didn't
25-year-old rookie out of Utah?
I didn't catch his minutes. I didn't catch his minutes, but
Okay, it
20,
was like towards the end.
yeah. Um, what else I want to talk about? Yeah, Grady, man. He can't self-generate anything much right now, but my God, he's like top 3 on this team of extending advantages or finishing advantages. He's top 3 on the team in just those 2
Finishing
things.
advantages, I would say Scotty number 1,
Yeah.
Jakob number 2, RJ number 3 in terms of finishing
Okay.
advantages.
Well, he's top 5 guaranteed.
Okay,
And
sure.
and since he's a great advantage extender and finisher,
Mhm.
it just makes sense he's in the starting lineup. It just makes sense.
Yo, honestly, I was on record earlier this offseason saying I thought that Jacoby Walter should start over Grady because of the defensive up, but honestly, seeing Grady right now, I understand it.
Mm,
I also just wanna mention this because I mentioned it on Instagram and also on Twitter. I was very curious, so I went back yesterday and I was listening to Locked On Big Board, James Barlow, Raphael Barlow. I think a lot of people have heard of those guys in their draft coverage. So right now they have guys like Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, etc., that are top 3 picks, right? Do you know who they had as a top 3 pick 9 months ago?
Yeah, Walter.
Jacoby Walter. So that's where I was like, holy shit. And I think I understand it. Like I fully get it, like why scouts sort of soured on him. But I'm gonna tell you something. There is something about this kid that I think people are missing. And I talked to a few people who were with him at Baylor, and I got a little bit more insight into it last week in terms of like what went wrong with his Baylor season. Expect a surprise. Expect a surprise. Somewhere down the line, the Raptors have a real NBA talent with this kid, and I don't. I think I don't. I think he's gonna be really good.
I mean, if Grady Dick is an example, and they're similar players to an extent, he can just have a glow up in year two. And the good thing for Walter is we're on rebuild, like fully, and we're
Mhm,
about development. And Grady Dick's first half of the season was, team was in limbo.
mhm.
And I think Walter also benefits from having an actual G League team with
Yeah,
actual talent on it, where he can, not asked to carry and be the only person on the team that anyone cares about.
agreed. And yeah, there's some people in the chat saying that they thought Grady was a good that his
Oh,
creation has taken a jump. Like in order to generate like s- in order to generate an advantage, you have to have either some sort of dribble, some sort of burst, some sort of first step, some sort of post game. Like the advantage starts where the space starts. So very, very often what was happening with Grady was RJ was starting on the strong side, dishing it out over to Grady on the other side, and then he was already catching the defense in rotation, or he was
yeah,
moving into a space that was not previously occupied, or he was coming off a screen. The advantage is created either by the screen or by the initial drive by RJ Barrett. So that's where I think Coach Mo is saying that he's an advantage extender as opposed to an advantage creator. If you want to see an advantage creator, go watch what Rob Dillingham did for 24 minutes against the
yeah.
Los Angeles Lakers the other day. That's advantage creation. So, yeah, overall, I don't think Grady needs to ever really, he doesn't need to really get in his bag, and that would
No,
be the
no,
craziest thing ever. It's just if
no.
if that ever comes about,
Yes,
but how many advantages does Clay Thompson create?
I agree. I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to do that. Like, I don't remember Reggie Miller hot saucing everybody. I don't remember Ray Allen doing a ton of that. I mean, he could do a little bit of that. So I just think Grady needs to be competent. And what I'm really appreciating is that between Grady and Mobo and also Ulrich and a little bit of Bruno Fernando, all right, okay. You
Yeah,
got bigs who can really bring the ball up the court, and especially with Kelly, who's almost operating like a pseudo point guard. Like, there's a lot of big playmakers, a lot of strong cutters, and a lot of good guard screeners. That to me is like a recipe for OKC offense. That's basically what they do. That's all they do. You got stocky guards like Kason Wallace, Lou Dort, etc. They're great screeners. You've got like extremely nimble, interesting, stretch bigs like Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams. And then you have these wings that can cut, like Jalen Williams. And I think that it creates very interesting offense. It can put the defense off balance. And I think the Raptors, and since they're able to basically initiate from the 5 spot, and a lot of fives are not really used to that. I think that can sort of throw your defensive scheme off balance a little bit. It's going to be a nice little gimmick for them for sure.
yeah. So for the fifth starter, because I think I read a quote from Darko that said we're gonna have a fluid starting lineup, which means the fifth starter is gonna be fluid. Um,
Yeah, I don't
you know,
I don't
no,
really think so.
you don't think so, huh? I think it's between if it were me, it's either Grady Dick for
Mm.
helping our BBQ and Yak on offense, or Ochai Abaji.
Ochai.
I don't think it should be Bruce Brown. I don't think it should be Bruce Brown. I don't, because I don't think Bruce Brown brings enough on defense to
Right.
help out our backcourt, and I don't think he provides enough on offense, like the spacing that we'd need, right? We already have enough creation with Jakob, IQ, and Scotty. So it's like he's redundant on both ends as a
Yeah,
player in the starting lineup.
I definitely don't think it's gonna be Bruce. I think it should be Grady. I think Grady's taken a competent step up. I was really impressed with his defense today. Granted, it's really hard to measure defense when you go up against such an ass offense.
Yeah.
That's something I'll say, right? Like, I can say, "Hey," like, the way that Jamal Shead was blitzing those passing lanes and the way that he was basically like, he's a football player out there. This dude is just like, am I the only person who got serious Kyle Lowry vibes from him? And I don't say that
From
lightly.
Shed,
Yeah. I mean,
he
we need to talk about Jamal Shead.
bro, he
When
like
he
why
comes on the court,
yeah.
right, there's a look in his eye that's like,
All these guys are food. Like he looked at Wizards like you guys suck. Like you guys are just food.
bro, like
I'm a rookie, but you guys suck.
bro, like there's like belief, there's irrational belief, and then there there's like hunger.
Okay.
You know? Like certain players, they yeah, I think you said it right. Like he looks at these guys like they're food. Like everybody is just in his way, right? The one thing that really got me was Bub Carrington, right? Now Bub's a good player. He's a really good player and he's bigger, right? So he's a little bit oversized and he was a lottery pick. So, Jamal Shead is cut from the same cloth as Gilbert Arenas and other, second round picks. Draymond Green, all these guys, they all have a story of like every single person who was drafted above me. So Jamal Shead, he's a prideful guy. He was the winningest player in college basketball. He obviously thinks that he's a better player than Bub Carrington. And frankly, he is a better player than Bub Carrington right now. He's definitely a better player than Alex Starr right now. He was the best rookie on the court by far. That's not to say that he should have gone number one in the draft or anything. I'm just saying, as a 22-year-old player who is really good, him being undersized doesn't make him a bad player, right? So what I'm saying is he's looking above Carrington. Like I'm gonna show you the difference between a 45th overall pick and a lottery pick, right? And so Bob Carrington gets a little bit stressed with him, right? So he takes a cheap shot. I think he brushed him off and he hit his face. And I think like Jamal Shead was kind of touching his lip, like, all right, cool, bet. And I paused right there and I'm like, what he does next is going to tell me everything about him, right? There's three ways to go about this, right? Back down, right? You get flicked, some guys back down. This is really true for basketball. Anyone who's hooped understands there's certain guys when you nick them or you hit them and you elbow them, they don't mess with you the rest of the game, right? I don't like those kind of players. The second door, right, that he could take is he's going to lose his edge. He's going to over gamble, right? And he's going to lose like the war of the mind here, right? Which is going to show me immaturity. The third thing he's going to do is he's going to use Bub Carrington's overconfidence and basically his arrogance and ultimately his momentum against him and either bait him into a charge, an offensive foul, or a really bad shot. I press unpause. 6 seconds later, offensive foul. I was like, bet this guy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
What I also love about him too is he's an undersized guard, but he finishes in the paint. He has like when we watched Fred, like
Mhm,
every time Fred went to the paint, it was like, oh, you should take the shot there. He didn't. Don't take that one. You took it. It was almost like prayers.
mhm,
All were prayers that got blocked or bricked. And
sure.
Shed, for some reason, he leverages his size and strength at the basket better.
It's the Wizards. Like I think that's fair to
Yeah,
say,
no, I'm just saying.
you
I'm just
know.
saying. I'm just saying.
But you're right.
That was a
You're right. I
great
mean,
layup. That was a great layup game for undersized guy.
a 7 foot plus 7'5" wingspan guy one on one against the shot clock and put it around him to end the half. That dude should like honestly, I know that the Raptors versus the Wizards is not going to make a Sports Center highlight, but the way that he got that shot off should make a Sports Center highlight. Jamal Shead is really good. I was very impressed with him. It was him and Grady. I'm telling you, like those two had me absolutely humming like the entire game. I was like, all right, there's some legits here. And the truth is, I mean, up until 2-3 weeks ago, everyone's a hypothetical. And even right now, all these guys are hypotheticals, right? Even RJ to some extent is a hypothetical. IQ is a little bit of a hypothetical. The only thing you could say for sure about this team is Scotty Barnes is really damn good. How good? We'll see. But beyond that, it's like you need like 3 to 4 of these guys to like materialize into something. You need Immanual Quickley to materialize into a deep shooting two-way, lead guard. You need RJ Barrett to really materialize into a really well-rounded, big playmaking wing who can sort of defend. And you need one of these guards, one of these wings, and one of these bigs. And if that all happens, so one of these guards has got to be Davion or Jamal,
Okay.
you know, or
Grady.
Carton. Shit, like fuck, like it's not
Okay,
impossible for
for argument's sake, let's say it's Shed, Grady, and who's the big?
long term. I don't know, probably Urish long term.
Yeah.
Like,
But
like what
you're
that's
talking about this season right now.
no, I mean, if they could just be serviceable, right? Like there's some rookies that are serviceable. Herb Jones was really good as a rookie, right? But I would assume it was serviceable. Can we get a serviceable rookie season out of a couple of these kids? Like, can we get 10 minutes of solid screen setting, good secondary playmaking, good box outs, and
Okay.
like good
Um,
defense from Jonathan Mobo? Can I get like decent on ball defense, good off ball defense, a little bit of shooting, and good playmaking out of, Jamal Shead?
I think you'll agree with me on this because I just thought of this. Last year, what was the consensus of the roster and how competitive we could be? Because the narrative is we're rebuilding, so we're gonna suck. But heading into last season with um, you know, Dennis Schroeder as our starter, and we saw the bench that we had to start the year. Which
Hmm.
people are talking about this bench being bad. Oh my god, did you see our bench last year to start?
Oh, yeah.
Now, here's my question. What's a better starting lineup? This going into this season, if Grady's starting, this version of Grady, and this starting lineup with BBQ and Yak, or last year's starting lineup? Which one's better? Last year's version of Scotty and this year's version of Scotty that you project. Which starting lineup's
Okay,
better?
but in fairness, Scotty started the season out amazing last year.
Okay, okay. But I'm
So
saying
I mean,
which
like,
starting
let's
lineup do you think is it comparable?
okay. Immanuel Quickley is way better than Dennis Schroeder. Like night
I,
and day.
I agree. And IQ's better. Who's our starting two? It was Scotty. Scotty versus RJ. Scotty.
That's not fair. That's not fair. It's got to be Scotty versus Scotty because this. Yeah,
Okay, sure. So then it's RJ versus OG.
OG's a better player.
Okay.
RJ's a better offensive player though, and Yak is Yak.
Actually, Yak is better this year to me. He's lost weight. I always thought he was playing too heavy last year.
That's an interesting observation. I didn't really notice the weight loss until I watched him today, and I was like, "Huh, he does look better." So, okay, so
Because
let's
he was
so give the edge to this year's
yes,
Yak.
that's where always his
Okay,
value
so
was.
so
Be
so
light on his
really,
feet.
really the gap here that we're discussing
How much better is
is
Scotty?
is Grady versus Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
considering the
let's
way we
go.
want to play, and considering the way we want to play, this is and people might say I'm being too extreme. Considering the way we want to play and what Darko wants,
Don't do it. Don't do it.
offensively,
Don't do it.
I'd rather take this Grady than having to fit around, in a square peg. I'd rather that. Now, defensively, yes, Siakam's better. But if we have to, if everybody has to succumb and make this guy fit here,
Oh my
you know what I
god.
mean? To make him fit, it was like the old LeBron, to Kevin Love, fit in or fit out. It's like we can't give you Minnesota touches. It makes no sense.
Oh boy. Sorry, I'm laughing. I'm dying. If your worst offensive player this year is better than Pascal Siakam offensively, I just want to say this respectfully. You're not going to make the playoffs. You'd be the greatest team of all time.
Oh yeah. But obviously Siakam's the better offensive player, better creator, better one-on-one player, all that. But in terms of the way we want to run our offense,
I understand what you're saying. Space, like okay, great,
it's
Grady's
not worth
Grady's.
having that guy pound the ball to get his numbers.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Pascal
Do
is
you
just
remember the screens he was setting?
yes,
Pathetic screens, movement off ball, shooting 15% for like 2 months from three.
yeah.
There was good and then there was ugly.
Look, I understand. I believe me, you don't have to sell me on Grady. I think Grady's awesome. I think, some people are probably gonna have a similar reaction when you think about like Grady versus Pascal, and you're like, what the fuck are we talking about here? But I fully understand it. Like the type of Tariq saying, "Laugh my ass off, Coach Perkins activated." I
Yeah.
love it. That's hilarious. But you know what? It's not as crazy as like I mean,
Listen, when
it
Scotty creates an
induces it
advantage
induces laughter. But yes,
when
I
Scotty creates an advantage and
it's
he
system.
swings the ball over to Grady Dick, and
Mhm.
there's a guy closing out on Grady Dick, or he swings the ball and the guy's closing out on Pascal Siakam and he closes out short, what do you think is better for our offense?
Yeah, I mean, look, I
Because he's
think
closing out short. He's saying, "Please shoot it, please," and they're going to run at Grady saying,
I
"Please,
think
please don't shoot it."
I think the finishing and creation talent is just so much higher for
Yeah, it
Pascal.
is. It is.
But
But now we have.
the
If,
shooting
if
and the
we didn't
potential
have
of deep shooting.
IQ, if we didn't have IQ and RJ, I'd take Siakam in a heartbeat.
Okay,
In a heartbeat. If Dennis
okay.
Schroeder was our starting point guard, oh, give me Siakam any day of the week.
Actually, okay, let's flip
But
this
we
because
have IQ and we have RJ.
you know what I think the
There's going to be
mistake
redundancies with RJ and Pascal. How much redundancies is there with RJ and Pascal?
here's the thing. I think the mistake here is that we're comparing Grady to Pascal, but actually we should be comparing RJ to Pascal.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the mistake.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because in
I agree.
terms of skill sets, in terms of weaknesses and strengths, basically Pascal is an accelerated version of RJ, with the
Yeah,
exception being that RJ is not a max player. RJ is not demanding max touches. And honestly, like while Pascal is a way better defensive player, rebounder, playmaker, I think there's at least something to be said that I prefer RJ's shot diet in general. So if RJ continues to shoot 50, like 60% true shooting, he'll be clipping a mark that Pascal
well,
has clipped, I think,
and
once. Mark,
and
do you know how many times Pascal's clipped 60% true shooting since he's been moved to full time starter? I'm pretty sure it's just once with the championship team. Every
okay,
year after that, it's
yeah.
been 56, 55, 54, 56, like in that range. So what RJ did, as a secondary next to Scotty last year was very impressive.
And this is not including off the court stuff, trade
Mhm.
rumors, keeping lowering his trade value, just
Yeah.
the vibes. Like, let's if we're even including that, it's an easier answer.
Zachary saying you have to compare Grady to
We
GTJ.
already know who's better
I
already.
mean, I think Grady's better, but honestly, I don't think that that's a fair comparison either, since Gary Trent wasn't really starting last year. But I understand where you're coming from too. Yeah. So basically, right now the Raptors are an OG and an OB away from being way better than the team last
Oh
year.
my god, if we had OG, oh my god, if
Why
we
do you
had
think I was pushing the agenda so hard this offseason? Wanted OG back for that
yo,
reason.
honestly, you had me believing. You made my belief go from like 0.1 to like 0.8.
0.8%.
Yeah, it went from 0.1 to like
I was all the
0.8.
way up to like 5%. I was 5% sure that OG was gonna snub the Knicks and come back because I was just thinking like he's such a troll, and he's just so funny. I just thought it would be the funniest thing to do. But then the Knicks came out with like 230 million. I was like,
Okay,
all right, that's
Rob,
cool. You take that. All
I
right.
I was listening to your conversation about Knicks. I think it may have been Player's Choice or with Vince. Um, you have the Sixers higher.
I do.
Okay, what on God's green earth makes you believe Paul George and Joel Embiid are going to make it to May?
Why are we talking about Paul George like he's like some super,
Well,
super injury prone player?
well, he's been injured enough. He's getting older. He's been injured enough.
And OG's not. Mikal Bridges is an Iron Man.
He's an Iron Man. Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns,
Okay, can you tell me the last time Embiid was healthy for a playoffs?
never. I
No,
don't. No, the Raptors. He faced the
no, he
Raptors.
was throwing up and sick. He was ill. He had like a virus or whatever. Remember, there was a couple games where
Bro,
he was throwing up.
if you had to be guarded by Marc Gasol every night, you'd be sick too.
I
Okay.
agree, but like, do you think it's rational to just have faith that Joel Embiid will be healthy for the playoffs at this point? Is that rational thinking?
Yeah, I think it's rational because I don't think they're hunting for any success in the regular season. I don't think they're going to prioritize it. I think all their
Okay.
focus, like everything comes down to focus, right? So there's a story that Brian Windhorst was sharing the other day. It's very interesting. Do you remember the 2013 NBA Finals where Chris Bosh passes out, gets the rebound, passes out to Ray Allen in the corner, and then the Miami Heat win the championship, and the Spurs are just standing there like, "Oh my god, we just let a championship slip." Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
So training camp that year, Brian Windhorst went to San Antonio, and everyone's just very honest about it. They're like, "Yep, we let one slip. We're super serious about it. We've been thinking about it all off season. We're gonna get one back, right? We let one slip. We're gonna get one back." And then he said the next day that he went to Miami, and it was a completely different energy. Everyone was dancing. There was like music playing. LeBron's dancing. Wade's dancing, and he just like something about that moment, seeing the two different locker rooms and their energy and their focus made me just frame that in my mind. And then, of course, we know what happened like 9 months later. They,
hmm
they killed the Miami Heat in the finals. So I think that intention, and focus, they matter a lot in terms of like how you approach, right? I just think that that's important. And
um,
the Sixers right now have talked about Joel Embiid not being healthy. They've talked about aiming in two places. They've acknowledged that maybe in the past they haven't been as focused on the end goal, which is a championship, and they've been too focused on side quests like MVPs and All NBA and All Star. And so yeah, I mean, look, you can have an issue with Joel Embiid. I certainly have a million issues with Joel Embiid. That's why I made the video. Joel Embiid is dirty, and I fucking say all the shit that I say about him. But he's hella talented, and you know same thing with Paul George. Like you can dislike the guy, but he's a top three. He's the best third option in the NBA. And I think overall, I just have so much faith in Tyrese Maxey, and I have so little faith in the Knicks bench. I'm not as high on Deuce McBride as a lot of people are. I don't really get the Precious Achua, faith and belief. If he's your big man, if he and Mitchell Robinson are your backup bigs, you're fine. But if one of those guys goes out, Karl Anthony Towns does not inspire a lot of confidence from me. And yeah, I mean, look, if you tell me the Knicks got to the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm not surprised at all. But right now, I have to look at the depth on the Sixers, and I have to give the Sixers the edge.
they for sure have more depth, and I like Paul George. I really like Tyrese Maxey, and the Embiid thing. This is how they're gonna let me know
Mhm.
that Embiid and everything has changed. No scoring title. We're not chasing that. I don't care if you score 30 and actually move the ball. And it reminds me of what Nick Nurse did when he took over the job and he realized, okay, we've made the playoffs, we've made all-star teams, the reputation of the team is better, we've won executive of the year, all that. What
Mhm.
we need to do now is everything is about the playoffs. Everything. Everything we do. We don't care about win totals.
Right.
Everything's about the playoffs. I think what Embiid has to do is he has to improve his playmaking. He has
Mm.
to actively do it. We know you can score 35. We know you can
Right.
foul bait. Stop foul baiting. If they're serious, he's going to stop the foul baiting because he's going to play it like it's the regular season
Right.
and all the gimmicks and all the flopping and all the falling. But if he does that, honestly, Rob, that lets me know same old, same old.
Mm. Fair enough.
Ask James Harden how the foul baiting through the 82 game season helped him in the playoffs. Ask him.
I mean, honestly, I just think defensively, like they have a lot, and I do think, you know, as much as do you think Tom Thibodeau is a better coach than Nick Nurse, tactically speaking?
No, not
Exactly.
really.
That side tells me everything. Okay, and in terms of Pascal Siakam, I do stand corrected. He clipped 60.1% true shooting last year. I do, however, also want to say he was a second option on both teams he was on. And as a first option, he was 55% true shooting, 54.7% true shooting, 56.5% true shooting, and once again, 56.5% true shooting. And I believe in every single one of those seasons, he was either below league average or average.
But
So
that's
yeah,
not on him. He was being used wrong. That's not on him. That was on Nicky Nurse.
I mean, sure.
J-
But
Right?
if you're going if you but yeah, I just think that RJ last year, he was managing 60% true shooting, 61% true shooting while being the team's leading option down the stretch. It's not like his efficiency fell all the way off when he wasn't playing with Scotty. Like he was really efficient, whether he was playing with Scotty, whether he was playing with Yak. I mean, obviously, if you want to see the fully realized, optimized version of RJ Barrett, you're going to want to put him with the most elite talent. I just think, yeah, I think they're weirdly comparable offensively, and I know that
Yep,
might be a
yep.
hot take for some people, but RJ is like legit could score 23, 24 points, and if you really want to load him up with a ton of mid-range shots and self-creation, he's probably going to struggle way more than Siakam would in that role. But he's also
Mhm.
23, 24 years old, and Siakam was not at that point when he was 23, 24. So I just think they're comparable. Honestly, as offensive players, defensively, obviously Pascal's on a completely different level, and he was always on a different level. And yeah, so if the Raptors can get RJ to, let's say RJ in the best case scenario becomes 110% of what Siakam was offensively and 60% of what he was defensively, that's great. Like that's amazing. That's a sub all-star.
What did you think of RG's defense to start the game?
Honestly, I was way, way, way more focused on Grady
Okay,
because
yeah,
I,
yeah, okay.
just in terms, but I didn't. What'd you think of it? I
I
didn't
thought
love
he
it.
put more effort, like,
The
it
effort's
took
always there with
yeah,
RJ. Like
but
it's
it was
it's the
like
recovery, it's the
yeah.
IQ, it's the it's the
R
discipline.
RJ's one of those guys where it's like the energy's there, you can see him trying, and it's like he stops one move and that's it. When the counter comes, it's over.
Yeah.
So he has one little effort in him and it's over. But yeah, man, we're way too good to be bad. Like, look at this Wizards team. This league, man. When the Raptors were winning all those games, when
Mhm.
the North started, man, I watched the Charlotte versus Knicks preseason game, the beginning of it. Man, Charlotte is talented. They
Who
have
inspires
real
who inspires faith on that team for
no, but
you?
I'm just saying the they're a bottom feeder, but I'm like the talent on that roster. The league is just insane with talent.
Mhm.
Even like they have Bridges, they have who's their second year player?
Brandon Miller,
Brandon Miller, they have LaMelo Ball. Oh
John
my
Salon.
yeah, I'm like, wow. I mean, do you remember what bottom feeders used to be in the early 2000s?
Yes, I do.
Jeez.
They used to be really bad, and now they're much better. And I mean, look, honestly, that's not what drives winning and losing. Look, there are a lot of teams that are talented. A player like Marvin Bagley is talented. I mean, admittedly, he's not going to help you win very much, but he's
No.
talented. In a full court run, really, he's very talented. If you catch Marvin Bagley on a good day, like you think the guy is a freaking all-star. Okay. There's a lot of guys that are talented. Bob Carrington's talented. Alex Starr is talented. A lot of the Wizards are talented. You look at the Hornets roster up and down. Yeah, there's a lot of talent, but talent alone doesn't help you win. What really helps you win is defensive effort, communication, screen setting, offensive scheme. You know what I noticed more so than anything today was when a bad shot went up, momentum just completely slipped, right? And that's I was noticing that actually in the Liberty versus Aces game as well. There was a situation where a player, had an ugly turnover, then she bumped into her coach, and then she had like a lot of really negative body language, and immediately the Aces went on a run. And it was a Liberty player that did it, right?
Yep.
Bad teams are full of what I call like self-imposed landmines. Terrible shots, terrible body language, bad recovery, no help, no communication, no rotation, no extra pass.
Yeah.
You get enough of that going on your team, and the whole team becomes dysfunctional as fuck. Suddenly everyone's taking bad shots. There was a particular, over dribbling possession with RJ, which led to a bad shot. And then the next time down, it was like the first guy who touched it shot the basketball. And I was like, fuck, this is not how the Raptors going to play. And then you saw that momentum. And then, of course, like, the next time down, I think RJ hits a three and everyone's like, yay. But it's like overall, the process of offense is trust each other, right? Nick Nurse shared a story where he went up to RJ Barrett and IQ. I don't know if you heard the story where he went up to RJ Barrett and IQ and he's like, "Hey, RJ, do you like him?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And he's like, Immanuel Quickley. He's like, "Do you like him?" And Immanuel Quickley's like, "Yeah, that's my dog." And he's like, "Then pass to each other." Like, I
Mhm.
mean, because ultimately that's what people don't realize. And it's like if you coach high school, if you coach NCAA, if you coach college basketball, you understand one thing. is bad shot selection breeds bad shot selection, bad defense breeds more bad defense. It's really difficult. Basketball is a game of runs and momentum. And so when you come down and you take a really dumb shot and it airballs, oh my God, you suck the air out of the building, right? And that air ball is going to come up and it's going to be followed by the human nature of trying to make up for the air ball, right? And so somebody else wants to like do something spectacular to undo the unspectacular, or you got a turnover and now you get a lot of cheating on defense, or you get a poor rotation where a guy doesn't help him recover, and then suddenly you get bad body language coming down the other way, and you get a poor screen. So it's like the whole thing is like maturity, maturity, maturity. Great coaching is it's irreplaceable, right? You need a coach who holds people accountable. You need players who are willing to be held accountable. You need
Everyone's
players
accountable. Everyone,
exactly.
not
You
the
know,
bench.
but you know where it really starts with? It starts with your star player.
Yes.
So here's a question. Can you think of one team in league history where the star player was a top 20 player, the coach was reasonable, and the coach was willing to hold the star player accountable, and the star player was willing to be held accountable, and that team was a perennial loser?
If that team exists, that's the ultimate trivia question.
It is.
Is there one that you have in mind?
No,
Oh,
because
okay.
I can't think of one.
Okay.
And that's the thing, right? When I see losing teams, typically I see star players who think they know it all, star players who don't play physical, they don't defend, they want to play one way, they have inflated egos, basically the Kyle Kuzmas of the world. If you want to win basketball games, trade for Denny Avdia. You want to lose basketball games, trade Denny Avdia away. It's that simple. You want to win basketball games, bring me a Derek Lively. Bring me PJ Washington, Derek, not PJ Washington. Give me Derek Lively. Give me Kason Wallace. Like Kason Wallace, Derek Lively, these are the types of guys that help you win basketball games. There are certain guys who help you lose basketball games. Marvin Bagley, James Wiseman. And these guys are corrosive, like, and I'm not trying to be rude when I say that. Like, they're really corrosive because they do so many stupid things on the basketball court. And there are certain players on this team that fit that mold. And I am curious if they will be on this team long term for that very reason, because you need basketball to be a relentless machine. You need your offense to be like a relentless machine. It's supposed to generate. Like, you need to trust it, even when your shot's missing. Like if you miss two shots and your offense generated two shots, you don't get to come down and launch an early one because you're trying to get one back. That's a lack of discipline. That's stupid, right? You should get benched for that. But unfortunately, it's the NBA. It's not college basketball. Maybe in high school or college, you get benched by one, honorary coach who's like really just over it all, and he's just like, "Fuck you, kids," right? But in the NBA, that's never going to happen. So if Scotty takes a stupid shot, or Scotty doesn't go back on defense, Darko's not going to bench him because that's a scandal, and that's never going to happen. And that's the problem. Like, Jordan Poole does like 100 stupid things on the
Yeah.
basketball court every time he plays basketball. Kyle Kuzma is the same thing.
Two
Right?
champions mentored by LeBron and Steph Curry.
Bingo, right?
You can't save them. You can't save them all.
Bro, you can't take the stupid out of these guys, right? And then you take that, and then it's just like they are losers. They are losers. Like, their mentality is loser. Like, they don't play winning basketball. Like,
And
winning basketball is like win. And I love this story about Darko taking their phones away and encouraging them not to be on their phones during dinners and communicating. Like, communication, maturity, sophistication of your, an adaptation or an evolution of your tastes, appetites, cultural appetites. All of these things are so underrated when it comes to the intellectual development of a person, but also the intellectual development of a person is so underrated in terms of aiding and abetting their ability to solve problems. Like, you have to grow people, you have to mature people. Like the story about Uru Shamshay that they were sharing, where he's the oldest of 17 brothers. Well, it's not brothers and sisters. He's not really brothers, sisters. They're like his cousins. But anyways, whatever. Like, he's the eldest of 17, and or the second oldest of 17, and so he would like often act as a caregiver. Well, you can see that in the way that he carries himself, and he's mature. He doesn't strike you as an 18-year-old. Like, I met a lot of 18-year-olds in my life. He don't look like an 18-year-old. He doesn't act like an 18-year-old. He's like a very wise old man, but he's 18. That's growth. That's forced growth. Like through life, that's life experience growing you up. And you might have a whole bunch of rookies. You might have a Jamal Shead who's a rookie, but he can't act like one, right?
No.
They need him to be better than that. And it's Grady, like he's 19, 20 years old. Like they need him to grow up. They need him to, they can't have him being a 20-year-old. They need him to mature. And again, like I love the defensive pride that this team's playing with. I love the fact that this, team, like at the end of the first half, they had 21 made field goals and they had 18 assists. And they had 14, I think 14 or 18 forced turnovers. Hold on, let me check my notes here. So at the end of the half, 14 forced turnovers, 18 assists on 21 made field goals. Brilliant. Just brilliant.
And for as all this talk about rebuilding and young, we drafted 4 rookies.
Mhm.
How many of the young guys are really gonna play? You know what I mean? Especially if, like,
I think
let's say,
Jacoby will play.
okay, so you have Grady, who's a second-year player,
Mhm.
and then you have Jacoby Walter, and then maybe Jonathan Mobile. That's about it.
Okay,
Who else is really gonna play? Who's gonna play, really?
I think Jamal Shead could play.
No, but Jamal Shead's not young. Yeah, he's a rookie,
22.
but it's
22.
Yeah, but he's like he's a vet 22. Especially if he's coming off the bench. Let's say he comes off the bench. How many minutes? If he was our backup point guard, how many minutes is he playing?
Mhm.
How many minutes is he playing?
Yeah, I understand.
And would that be overwhelming for Jamal Shead right now?
No, I don't think so. I think he's ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The
Anyways,
only guy who would be
really worth thinking about. Yeah.
right. It's not that much. You have BBQ, you have Jakob, you have Bruce Brown, you have Kelly Olynyk. It's really Grady Dick and Jacoby Walter. And Mogbo if he plays, because I'm not worried about Shed. And I'm not even worried about Grady Dick anymore. So really what you're worried about is Jacoby Walter and Jonathan Mogbo. Getting them up to speed. That's
Right.
it. It's 2 guys who aren't even going to get that many minutes. If we're healthy, we're not a young team. We're not as young as they're making it out to be.
Yeah, that's all worth thinking about for sure. I think there's 11 guys in camp who are under 25. I don't know. People grow at different ages. I think Mobile is a very young 22 in a weird way. Like in a sense, like I think he's a very young 22 in the sense like basketball years. He hasn't had a ton of what I would consider like elite basketball experience. So, hopefully there's some growth with him. Anyways, Coach Mo, thanks a lot for calling in. Appreciate you, man, as always. And hopefully more W's in the preseason. And then we will see if we pivot towards the tank.
Hopefully everyone's available for our next game against Washington.
Yeah. I hope. Well, I mean, Jacoby's not going to be available. Bruce Brown's probably not going to be available. But yeah, our main 3, I hope they're
BBQ,
available.
yeah. The real starting lineup. The real starting lineup. Yeah.
All right, man. Peace. See ya. Layne, what's going on, bro?
Yo, what's up?
What is going on? What did you think of the game?
I liked it. I thought it looked clean. It looked really clean. Everyone was pretty involved on defense, which was nice to see. And I don't know if it was just like the tank last year at the end of the tail end of last season that kind of tainted my view of the Raptors defense. But I mean, it looked night and day. And what I wanted to get on here for was to kind of brag a little bit about a Buckeye. I thought Jamison Battle looked damn good tonight.
We haven't talked about Jamison Battle. His shot looked great. Yes. I think he looked very good.
I seriously think if he is like a bottom 5 player on your roster that can maybe like occasionally play 5 to 10 minutes and come in and just give you shooting, I mean, I don't see why not.
Who would you compare him to? Who does he remind you of?
Who would I compare him to? He's unique.
Like Duncan Robinson, Max Strus in him?
He's bigger though. He's 6'7", 6'8". He's big. So last year, I went to an Ohio State game and I sat courtside. And I mean, him running up and down the court, like TV does him no justice. Like he is a legit 6'7", 6'8". And he's not skinny either. Like he's not a twig. I mean, he's pretty damn filled out. I mean, the only thing, the only argument for, keeping him, I mean, he's obviously going to get a lot of G League time. But past this season, either not keeping him or keeping him in the G League would be the fact that like he's older, right? There's not a lot, like he's not going to get much better than he is right now. But
how old is he?
I don't know. I like him a lot. If like I said, 5 to 10 minutes a night, if he could, put up 3-4 threes a night,
Okay.
I like my chances there.
How old is he?
I think he's 23 or 24. He was a grad transfer from Minnesota, I believe.
Famous in battle?
Yeah, he went to Minnesota.
24?
I think he's 23 or 24. He played 5 or 6 years of college basketball because he had the COVID year, and then he was a grad transfer at Ohio State.
Okay. Okay, let's just check here. He is 23. Okay.
Yeah.
Holy shit. He's the same age as Scotty.
Yeah.
Dude. All right. He's 23. That's not bad. I mean, there's like he's 6'7", 220. He's got some decent size to him, and that shot does look great. Yeah.
I mean, it's redeemable on defense. Like he's not going to be amazing or spectacular, but if he could be like at least league average or a little bit below league average.
Yeah, I mean, get him in your program, a 23-year-old shooter. I mean, this is the type of thing to actually invest in. Did anyone else stick out to you? What about Jared Roden, or what about Jemias Ramsey?
Roden was cool. Ramsey was cool. Obviously, everyone's talked about Schneed. Schneed looked great. But Grady, Schned. My bad. I'm so sorry. Grady.
Why are you saying Sned? It's SH. Shed.
Shed. Oh, like a shed.
Yeah.
Oh, like I put my lawnmower in the shed.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Never know.
Shed. Yeah. So it's funny
Never
because a lot of people say Sheed, and I'm pretty sure on draft night I also said Sheed. So yeah, and then I've heard some people say Sned. I'm like,
Yeah,
where is that coming from?
I've been checked out. I promise you, I watch college basketball. I've just been checked out, so I didn't know.
Mhm.
Okay, so obviously he was impressive, but Grady played great all around. He played like he did at the tail end of last season. So watching him carry that over to this season, he looks so much more
I
confident.
think he looks better than he did last season.
Oh, for sure, 100%. But he's carrying over the same aggressiveness, and he's still building on everything. Like he didn't plateau. Like he didn't see success in the end of last season and say, I mean, obviously he's gonna get better, but he wasn't content with it. Like some of the reads he made in transition today were just like, wow.
I agree. Yeah.
How is a second-year player who was in the G League and then out of the G League even for a month last year making reads like this? I mean, granted,
he's always had it, right? So that's the
No,
thing.
he
Like,
has, for sure.
when he was struggling, right? It's like, okay, there was a pass that Urish made today to Brandon Carlson. It was a turnover, right? It was right towards the tail. I think it was around the 4-minute mark, 3.5-minute mark, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
And I'm like, it's just a little off, but he sees it. It's the same thing with Grady last year, right? It's just a little off, right? It's like he gets to the spot, but he's like a quarter second late, or he sees the pass, but his hand reacts like a second late. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like with certain young players, that all the building blocks of all their success that they're gonna have are right there, right? 6'8", 6'7", 6'8". Grady's huge. Like really, I've seen him in person, and it's just like you really are shocked because when you see shooters sometimes on screen, you're not seeing them, next to somebody. You assume they're a certain size, and you think you have an idea of how big they are. And Grady's just bigger. I promise you. However big you think Grady Dick is, he's bigger than that. His intelligence and overall vision for the game and his understanding of the game is very good for a player that young. Like it's insane. So again, when he was struggling last year, it was not a matter of if, but when it was going to crack through. And the only, even like if you had a 5%, will he make it? Will he not make it? It was purely like confidence related, anxiety related, mentality related, because the building blocks are all there. Like I obviously was a very, very big proponent for picking Jordan Hawkins in the draft. Like I was very upset that they didn't pick Jordan Hawkins in the draft. But it was when I started looking at Grady's film and I saw some of the playmaking potential that he was flashing in high school. And it's ironic because we've gone through a very similar arc with Jacoby Walter, where it's just like, okay, we see these kids in high school, we see them in college, but we remember the college tape because that's what we saw last, and we assume that if a kid is not doing something in college, it's because they can't. But we very
Mhm.
often don't realize that sometimes kids don't do certain things in college because their coaching staff won't let them or their team won't let them,
Correct.
right? They might be playing power forward because that's the position their coach asked them to play. And like, what the fuck do you want the kid to do? Not play the position that his coach is asking him to play? Or, maybe a kid can shoot, but his coach doesn't want his power forward shooting. So the kid has 2 3-pointers on the season. You know what I mean? And it's just like stuff like that. Or even defensively, like, maybe the kid is a really good lower third defender and a really good rim protector, but the coach had them all the way out guarding point guards full court. And it's like, okay, that's why the high school tape is so important on
Mhm.
players like Grady and RJ, et cetera, because you get a real vision on who they were when they had a little bit more freedom,
Right,
right?
for sure, for sure. And
Yeah,
some people confuse the high school tape as, oh, look, he's taking 40-foot threes. Oh, look at the dunks. Like, look, he's so projectable. It's like, no, no, no. Look at the plays within the plays. Look at the reads he's making. Look at the pass that led to the pass. Like, that's the high school tape about Grady. When we drafted him, I was so excited because he did produce at Kansas and he was solid, even though he didn't get the leash he has now. But two, like you just said, his high school tape was absolutely ridiculous.
absolutely. And Jacoby's high school tape shows a lot more creation.
Mhm.
Like, he's getting to the line. Like, Jacoby Walter is gonna be a free throw merchant at some point. Like, he just draws fouls at a really good rate. And his movement patterns are so interesting that, like, if you told me Jacoby was gonna be like a future starter in the NBA, I'm starting to see a vision for that being true. And it's just one of those weird things where it's like a guy drafted 19, we don't talk about him, right? But again, I was looking at that pre-draft. Where were people on Jacoby early in the season? After game 7, game 8, okay? Someone was talking about him as a first overall pick in this draft, ahead of Alex Sarr, ahead of Reed Shepherd, ahead of all these guys. So what happened was he played 20 more games. That's it. So you're telling me 20 games forced this guy to slip from a top 3 pick to the 19th pick in the draft. That's how fluid this shit is.
Yep.
It's not like the WNBA. It's very rare in the WNBA that their best player wasn't a top 5 pick. It's so rare. You look at the league, the WNBA,
Mhm.
Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker. I'm just naming like superstar college players. Kelsey Plum, I think she was a first or second overall pick. Sabrina Ionescu, I think she was a second overall pick. Stewie, she was a first overall pick. Asia Wilson, first overall pick. Like, just like you go down, 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 and you're like, damn, all their superstars are like. But in the NBA, it's like 15th pick, 30th pick, 32nd pick, 41st pick. It's all over the place, and that's what I'm trying to get people out of this is like, we look at players like Jamal Shead, we don't see like starter. We're just like, oh, that guy was picked 45th. He'll never get that respect until he earns it, I guess. People still look at Davion like he's a lottery pick. And it's just like right now, I'm telling you, I think Jamal Shead's better than him. What do you think of between those two? Like, if you had to pick right now, if you're coaching this team, between the two of them, based on what you saw today, who gets the backup point guard spot behind Immanuel Quickley?
Oh, Shed. I love the way he pushed the pace. He finished at the rim, right? I don't have so big thing for, and this just might be a me thing. A big thing for me though is I like a backup point guard who can finish at the rim, can put pressure on the rim, right? Because then it opens up so much more for your offense, especially if you have a center like Kelly Olynyk on the second unit who could shoot threes, right? Drive kick, drive kick, drive kick. I'm so sorry, my bad.
Oh,
Nothing against Davion Mitchell, right? Because I mean, I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a rotation player in the NBA. But a guy like Shed as your backup guard who can drive, kick, finish at the rim, puts pressure on the rim, the shooting is going to be there. Like he's just getting adjusted to the NBA arc, right? Like it's going to be there. He's too good, too talented for it not to get there at some point where he can't shoot 35, 36% from three at least, right?
mhm.
Like it's going to get there. Might as well give him those reps. I would go Shed easily.
Hmm. I would too. And I mean, it's not just, of course, there's a 4-year age gap, right? It's just like that dog mentality. They both got it, which is great.
Mhm.
They both have that dog mentality. They can both pass, which I really appreciate. Like some of the passes like I saw from Davion Mitchell, I was like, all right, the playmaking talent is real. Like he's a guard. He is a point guard,
Mhm.
and that's great. You know, having someone who can just sort of table set for your second unit, like I'm sorry, like we kind of lack that. Like apart from Jeff Doughton over the last few years, like there
Yeah.
hasn't been really anyone on that backup unit that's inspired a great deal of confidence from me as a table setting point guard. Like before that, you go to Fred VanVleet as a backup.
Right. No, for sure. And
There's
there
a
was
lot of
time.
mixed. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, my bad. And there was times like not last season, obviously, but the 2 seasons before that, where like Scotty was quote unquote your backup point guard because whenever Fred would leave the game, they kind of let Scotty run the offense because they would tail Scotty and Fred's minutes where Scotty would go out after 5 minutes, and then after Fred went out, Scotty came back in. So you were using your starters to be your backup guards because you had Malachi Flynn, right? Compared to now, to where this is a great problem to have because I mean, like I said, Mitchell is a rotation player in the NBA. Like he could go to the Nuggets right now and he's still playing 10 minutes a night. You know what I mean?
You think Davion Mitchell would play 10 minutes a game on the Nuggets
Yeah, but I think he played the 2. I don't think he played the 1.
next
As
to
a backup.
Russell Westbrook in the backup?
Yeah, I think he would take minutes away
Bro,
from him.
I hope what you're saying is true because I have a feeling he's going to be on the trade block very soon.
I hope he is because that means that Shed's looking great. I hope he is.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I mean,
No,
Shed's
I
looking
was
good.
like honestly, I was praying one of Davion or Ochai would flash like this is a real. When I say real NBA player, I mean a top 250 player in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not talking like you fringy, you know, I'm not talking Brandon Carlson. Like I'm talking legit. You would pretty much be in the top 10 of every single team in the league.
Mhm.
That's a legit NBA player. An example of a legit NBA player is a Norman Powell. Whether you have him as 130th best player, Terrence Mann, Ayo Dosunmu. Like these guys are all real NBA players. So which of these players are real NBA players? So according to you, Davion Mitchell is a real NBA player. You're saying he
Yeah,
gets 10 minutes on any team. I don't agree with you.
I would probably put him though out of the 250. I'd probably put him like
At 250?
I'd put him like 235 down, and we'd have to talk through the 15 guys. Like it could be either way.
Yeah, so therein lies the thing. I'm just not that high on Davion. Like I
No,
can't get that
neither
high
am I.
on him.
I
No,
think he's
I'm
just
saying like there's a lot of talent in this world, right?
yeah.
Like the NBA, we talked about it. Like there are teams. Like you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. It's just talking about in the live yesterday, I believe. Look at their deep rotation, man. Terrence Shannon Jr., Rob Dillingham,
Yep.
Josh Minot,
Yep.
Leonard Miller. I take every one of those guys over Davion in a heartbeat. Every one of them. So therein lies the gap.
Yeah.
Davion has to do something better than what he's done. Here's what he does well: pick up point, pressure, ball pressure. Okay. A little bit of turnovers. Okay, perfect. If he can adjust that to include some great off-ball defense, if he can get like really just elite with it, blowing up plays, passing, in transition, recovery, even getting, better as a rim protector. Okay, now we can talk. But honestly, the upside of a 6-foot defender is still going to be 6 feet tall. Can you think of a great defender that's been 6 feet tall without thinking of Fred VanVleet and Pascal and Kyle Lowry? Can you think of another one 6 feet?
Like right now in the NBA, that's like
Yeah.
okay. Are we talking great as in like top 10 percentile of defense in the NBA? Or are we talking great
Yes.
as like good for position?
Yeah. So 90th percentile defenders and above.
How
We're
tall is
talking
how tall is
Marcus
Marcus?
Smart,
Yeah,
6'4".
I was right. Okay, he's 6'4". Yeah.
6'3". He's 6'3", 6'4". Drew Holiday 6'3", 6'4".
So I would put Jose Alvarado as a good defender for a guard, but I wouldn't go as far to say he's a top 10 percentile defender in the NBA.
Definitely not.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like that's the name that kind of came to mind.
So percentile is backwards. So you're saying top 10 percentile? You mean
Well,
top
top
10
top
percentile?
90 top yeah,
90th percentile
yeah,
defenders.
90th
Okay.
percent. Yeah.
So Jose Alvarado is definitely not there.
Right.
Chris Paul in his absolute apex and prime was close.
Yep.
Kyle Lowry was close. Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet are the examples that I can think of. Other than them,
I mean, Bledsoe kind of.
I don't think so. I don't think he ever hit that level. 90th percentile defenders. We're talking like OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes level defenders. No, I don't think so. It takes the rarest. Even if we extend this down to 80th percentile and you start maybe including I mean, chat, help us out. Like there's 400 plus people in here. And shout outs to Erica. Yo, Rob just got home from the game, got the jersey signed too. You were exactly who I was talking about when I said I know somebody who's going to the game, but I'm sorry, Scotty's not going to play. But you know, you got to see Scotty celebrate a little bit, so that's good. Chat, help us out. Can you think of a 6 foot tall or smaller defender that was an elite defender? First of all, there just aren't that many players that are 6 feet taller or smaller in the NBA. Period. I could extend this to 6'1", 6'2". It's so rare. Stephon Marbury, not a good defender. Isaiah Thomas was a decent defender. John Stockton was a good defender, right?
Could that be the era though?
Pat Bev.
Pat Bev is a
Bev's
very
about 6'2".
Davion Mitchell-esque defender, where it's like the reputation kind of fools you a little bit.
Absolutely. He's very active.
Yeah,
right?
guys
Like,
that shuffle their feet a lot and move a lot look good.
Absolutely. Someone saying Boston IT. Holy shit, are you off? Avery Bradley is a great example, but I believe Avery Bradley, if I'm not mistaken, was 6'2". But I did say we can expand it to 6'2". Avery Bradley was a beast defender.
Okay,
Yeah.
80th percentile, would you agree with maybe TJ McConnell?
TJ McConnell.
Watch the analytics say he's like a bottom of the league type of guy. And I look stupid as shit, but we're gonna go with it. We're gonna try it. I also don't think Javon Carter is too bad, but I wouldn't put him 80th percentile.
Yeah, people saying Muggsy Bogues, not even close. Tony Parker, not even close. Jameer Nelson, not even close. And you're much closer, I believe, with TJ McConnell, but no, he's not.
Mike Conley in his heyday was not bad. Memphis Grizzlies Mike Conley was
Mike Conley was good. Mike Conley is solid. Yeah. So my point is, it's very rare to be a great defender at this size. Okay, that Davion and guys like this are operating. Ironically, Immanuel Quickley is one of the best 6'2" or smaller defenders in the league. Like he's really up there, and he's not good. So again, we're a little bit spoiled up here in the north. We have had two of the most rare things in the world, which is two guys who are 6 feet tall, not super long, you know. And that's the other thing. Can you think of guys who've done it without like a freakish wingspan? Like we're not talking, you know, Donovan Mitchell, 6'10" wingspan, 6 feet tall, right? It's easier to be undersized. Like a Dwayne Wade was about 6'3.5". He was a pretty damn good defender, but that's because he had a 6'10" wingspan, right? So to be a Fred VanVleet where your wingspan's 6'2" and you're 6 feet tall and you're a great defender, like Fred was a legit great defender. That's like unheard of. It's crazy. And there's a reason he went undrafted because no one could have seen that coming other than him. So if Jamal Shead is going to do, you know, and he took the number 23, got a text from Fred. You know, Fred said, hit me up anytime. Now, I really hope that he takes a different path, but he seems like a really different dude on a very different path. But, you know, take that same spirit that Fred VanVleet took to, you know, betting on yourself. But ultimately, it's like you need irrational confidence to be even in the NBA at 6 feet tall. How many times do you think Jamal Shead heard you're never going to make it in your life? Probably 5,000 times. He had to ignore it 5,000 times. So I'm rooting for this guy so much. Like I have a real dog in this game. Like I'm like, okay, like this is like I really want this guy to succeed. And I just love the energy that he plays with. I love that dog and swagger. And it's like that dog and swagger is what creates winning. Because it's just like you can just tell he's not scared of anybody. And that's infectious. That's really infectious. And I'm very curious to see if Scotty and IQ noted that, like while they were watching him and be like, okay, we got one of them ones. Because you know, RJ is very similar that way. He's not scared. I don't see RJ being scared of anybody. I don't think Scotty's afraid of anybody. I don't think Emmanuel Quickley's scared. So, you know, you just got a whole bunch of guys who are willing to compete, do the right things, play, you know, team basketball, and now they're picking up like, you know, like really, really connected defensively. How are you supposed to lose?
I honestly think. Do you remember back in 2019, 2020, after Kawhi left, how, I mean, obviously we really didn't have a true superstar. Like, yeah, Pascal Siakam was an all-star starter, but that's more or less because of the championship. And, he started off hot, but it was more of a team effort, right? Kind of thing. But do you remember how every single night or every single time we play a superstar, we would just shut them down? Like, Joel Embiid put up 0 points one game. When we played Donovan Mitchell, I think we held him like 6 points. Like, we just shut everybody down that whole year.
Mhm.
And we would go into away games, and obviously we were really good that year, but we play other teams with similar records but with one or two superstars, and we didn't have any superstars, and we would just shut them down. I think this year's team, at their peak, at their ceiling, it can be kind of similar, and if not this year's team, next year's team for sure. Like, this team is one good year away from making the playoffs. I truly believe that. I think they could be a similar type of team. Like, I think Scotty eventually is going to be a top 15, top 10 kind of guy, like consistently, like through a whole year, not through a sample size, not through like 20 games, not through 30 games, not through 40 games, but through a whole 82 game season, will consistently be a top 15 player. I still think we're another year away from saying that, which that's not disrespectful, but he's only in his 4th year of the league. Like, if you're already having a conversation of, hey, you could potentially be a top 15 player in the NBA in your 4th year in the league, like, that's crazy. That's a hell of a player.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think at the ceiling, at the peak of this team, if management doesn't call the shots that they want to tank,
Mhm.
I seriously think this could be a 35-40 win team, sneak into a play-in spot, because I think that I think this is honestly a top 10 team in the East. Like I said, at their best, if they're trying, they can kind of be the Walmart version of that 1920 team where we just give superstars off nights and we beat really, really good teams, like teams that are much more talented than us.
Was that an intentional reference to Donovan Mitchell's nickname? Off night.
Davion Mitchell's
Sorry, Davion Mitchell. My bad.
off night.
Davion
It's a
Mitchell's.
hell of a nickname. It's a hell of a nickname, though.
It's
It's a
it might
great
be
nickname.
it might be the best nickname in the NBA. I think it's up there. Half man, half amazing is probably the best one. Is that the best nickname? Half man, half amazing, big ticket. We don't give guys great nicknames anymore.
I like Durant's, man. I think Durant has some of the best nicknames in the league. Durantula is so tough. Just because of how he looks.
Tarantula.
Durantula is so tough. Like when you watch him play basketball, how long he is, how lanky he is, he looks like a spider. You cannot tell me the man does not look like a spider. When he goes to shoot,
It's not
come on.
even his nickname. His nickname is Slim Reaper.
Slim, he's multiple. He's like Slim Reaper.
Is it
Easy
oh
money
man,
sniper.
easy money sniper is it's a great nickname.
Durantula. He's like 5 or 6.
Okay, well if you have 5 or 6 and I can't pick one, then it's not.
Yeah, he's got some good.
Off nights all right. Off nights an all right. It's a good nickname. I'm trying to think of like the best nickname. I think Black Mamba might be the best nickname.
Yeah, Black Mamba yeah. I'm not a big King James fan. Like, I get it. I'm not a big King James guy.
Yeah, I'm not either. I think the minute he called himself king, the minute basically everything turned. So yeah.
No, for sure. For sure. And just one more question. This doesn't have to be long because I know you got other people to get to and you got to get on with your night. But in the 2 spot this year, like hypothetically, Brown starts the season healthy, Dick's healthy going into the season. Who do you think starts?
There's a world in which Bruce Brown is ever going to start on this team. He doesn't fit.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either. I think it's Grady, but that's just me.
It should be Grady or Jacoby, and if it's not one of them, it should be Ochai. Is like I'm trying to think if there's someone in the third string that I'd rather start over Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown is so redundant with the starting unit because it's just like him and RJ Barrett is just a really weird chemistry, but him and Kelly Olynyk is great chemistry. So it's like, yeah, Bruce Brown has to come off the bench. But what's interesting is, between Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk, if Jamal Shead and Jacoby Walter pop, you have like a legit bench. You have a legit bench and a legit starting lineup, And again, I was discussing it earlier with, I think, Coach Mo, when I said, the things that lead to losing are all these losing plays, these losing habits, these sort of like losing coping strategies in the locker room. And it's just like if this team just has it together and they're focused on winning and they just play with some pride and togetherness and they're connected defensively and there's like real accountability, like in the locker room, you have a guy he missed a switch, he missed an assignment, and he just comes up to everyone and says, "My bad." Like that simple thing, and everyone just kind of moves on. No one's pointing fingers. Like that simple thing just adds like 25% to your win total. By my for my estimate, that is just such a huge and underrated part of it. Everyone can just, clamor over talent and say, well, Carlton Towns, that's how you win. Or, this guy got Mikal Bridges. And yeah, you don't have to sell me on the fact that Mikal Bridges is better player than RJ Barrett. I know Mikal Bridges is better player than, that. I know that, Carlton Towns is a way better player than Grady Dick, right? But in the end, it's a team sport. You got to win as a team. Health is going to play a huge part into it. But ultimately, so does the synergy of the parts, right? Kelly Olynyk as the lead ball handler in the second unit when Scotty's not out there is a very interesting wrinkle. It's a really cool way to run basketball. Like it's uncomfortable actually. Like it totally changes the dynamics of the court. It puts so much pressure on the opposing big to actually come out and take away some of those passing lanes. And then if you have elite spacing and cutters like Bruce Brown, like so imagine the following. Imagine RJ plays a ton of minutes of the second unit with Kelly being a primary initiator from the center spot, right? And then you imagine that maybe at some point you kind of upgrade on Mobo with like a real rim protecting lob threat type of big. Because again, the Raptors have their mid-level exception. They haven't used it yet. They can easily trade it out for something like a Clint Capella type, right? So let's just say they get that player type that's not really there. And then they have a movement shooter like a Jacoby Walter. They have an RJ Barrett and a Bruce Brown. They're kind of cutting, right? Okay. And then Kelly, so you're supersized, right? First of all, you're like really big. You've got great cutters. And now the opposing big has to come and get away from the basket to take away Kelly's shot and his playmaking. And Kelly is fully capable of putting it on the floor from the top, but he's also fully capable of delivering a pass to one of these ample cutters. He's also fully capable of screening and maybe doing a little handoff for either Jacoby or Grady or whoever the hell the movement shooter is playing coming off of him. So this is just an offense that is just going to consistently churn out like butter, like these great looks, right? And you've got these excellent decision makers, and they're all jumbo playmakers. Like whether you want the evolution of RJ as a playmaker is has been encouraging. Scotty obviously is one of the best jumbo playmakers in the league. Jakob, Kelly, you get just big passers all over the court. You just got big passers everywhere, and none of them are Nikola Jokic, but man, like they can all really find advantages everywhere, right? And then you get these cutters like Bruce Brown, like he's a great cutter. It's a great cutter. There's a reason why he had so much synergy with Nikola Jokic, and it's just it's just completely, you take one example, which is the most extreme example of crap space, which is Pascal Siakam isolating one-on-one, going into his bag at the pinch post as Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby fan out to the corners and Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent watch from above the break, right? You're just trying to create, but like look at where all the defenders are. Look at how much they move, right? One of the most underrated parts of what the Raptors are doing is look at how much work it takes defensively, right? To shut down what they're doing. Look at how much attention to detail, how much motion and movement you need to stop this. Like on the one hand, what I described, where a guy can basically just stay glued to Fred and pretty much, that's it. And if Pascal scores, he scores. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. Whereas here, you're chasing Grady off of two screens and now having to guard him. And then he's going to whip the pass out to Scotty up top. And now he's going to reinitiate the drive. How many rotations did you put the defense in? A ton. And now that same defender has to go down on the other end and shoot jumpers, which are naturally going to be short because they're exhausted from having to chase you around. When I say there's a link between offense and defense, people really don't seem to intuitively pick up on that. There's a huge link. And people want to isolate it and say Darko is an offensive coach. But if you can really well oil your offense and it's the type of offense that puts defense into constant rotation, you're automatically making the defense easier.
For sure. 100%. And as someone who's played sports their whole life, like there 100% is a correlation between offense and defense. And I 100% agree. I think And here's the thing with the kind of offense the Raptors are trying to run. It's not exactly the prime Spurs Greg Popovich offense, but what you see is when Popovich lost the guys who had the ability to run that kind of offense, to make those shots, to make those passes, the offense doesn't work. It becomes very turnover heavy. It becomes very over passive. Like it just doesn't work. And I think that was a lot of Raptors fans. And kind of my fear when Darko came in and he was preaching this kind of offense is I don't know if we necessarily have the guys right now that make it work. Now, though, you can kind of see the vision in year two, right? Everyone's a year better. Everyone's a year more bought in, right? The guys that you're drafting and the guys that you're developing them for this kind of offense. It's making a lot more sense now. And it's working. I mean, just in one preseason game tonight against, granted, a terrible team, but if you can do it against a terrible team and you can execute it and practice it now, it's going to help you when you're in the regular season and you're playing a playoff team almost every night for the first 25 games.
Okay. Just say yes or no to the following players being above average passers for their position based
Gotcha.
on what you've seen. Jonathan Mobo.
Can I say too early to tell? I don't want to judge him off one game.
He's a power forward. And he had 5 assists in
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think he had 4 or 5 hockey assists.
I think the rest of his game looked very like,
oh yeah, raw as fuck.
Night. So I mean, yes, in terms of that, like box score wise, but I know he can be better. I know he can be a lot better for sure.
I think he's a massively above average playmaker for a power forward. Like given where the average, I'd say he's above average for a wing. Like he's a legit point guard. Like he played point coming up. I'm not saying he would be some sort of like star prodigy as a point guard. I'm not saying he's Ben Simmons, Josh Giddey, whatever. But I am saying like he can competently read the floor, and his reads like show me that he's seeing the game at a very good level. Anyways, so you're saying too early to tell. I'm gonna say yes. Jakob Poeltl.
Yes.
No debate here.
Yeah, not doubt.
Yeah. Davion Mitchell.
No, not for a position, but he's a good
Okay. Okay. Honestly, this is going to sound crazy because I've been pretty much slandering the guy. I think he's an above average passer as a point guard. I think he's a really good passer. I think it's his lack of scoring that makes it difficult for him to generate the advantages to create those passes. But nevertheless, RJ Barrett.
No, but he's getting better.
I tend to agree with that. I think there were games last year where I was like 100% yes. And then there were certain moments where I'm like 100% no. So I'm going to say if he's a guard, he's not. If he's a wing, yes. Okay. Grady Dick.
At the 2 guard, yes, for sure. He reads the game very fast.
Me too. I mean, I agree. Kelly Olynyk.
Yes.
Chris Boucher.
No.
100% agree. Bruno Fernando.
No, hell no.
Jamison Battle.
No, but that's not his game.
Brandon Carlson.
Yes, actually, he's smart.
Louis Champche.
Yes, for sure.
Jamias Ramsey.
No, but kind of like Battle is really not his game.
Right. He is a guard, though. He is a point guard.
Yeah.
Okay. Ochai Agbaji.
No.
Okay. Jamal Shead.
Above average for a position, because he's a point guard, no, but that doesn't mean he's not a good passer. Like I think he's probably a top 5-6 passer on this team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he's gonna be like a really good one, but he's just never gonna have quite the size to create the same advantages as some of his bigger teammates will. Okay. DJ Carton.
No.
Immanuel Quickley.
No, but he showed
for
flat
a point guard. Yeah,
for a
I
point
agree with I agree with that. Immanuel Quickley has some ways to go. Scotty Barnes.
Yes.
Of course. And Jacoby Walter.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. I saw a little bit of it in high school, and then I saw none of it in college. Like there was this alarming stat where I think he had 4 assists through his first 8 games, and we're all just sitting there like, "What?"
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's a lot to do with the system at Baylor, and I don't think that's necessarily him not reading the game. But I'll concede that I don't think he's above average for a shooting guard, but I don't think he's considerably below average as a playmaker as a 2 guard.
Right.
Okay. And then the final player that we're missing here is Bruce Brown. And I think he's
Yeah, no. You think he's above? Wait, what position? What position are you counting him as?
I'm counting him as a small forward.
As a small forward, yes, as a small forward.
Yeah. So overall, you have Mobo. I think you have Mobo. You too early to tell. You have Jakob Poeltl. I think you have Davion Mitchell. We may have great. We definitely have Grady Dick. We may have RJ Barrett, Kelly Olynyk. Right. We have Brandon Carlson, Ulrich Shea. May have Jamal Shead. Definitely have Scotty. I think you have and you definitely have Bruce Brown. I think you have great passers on this team.
Yeah.
I think you have really, really above average passers. And if you do the same test that I just said with the Orlando Magic, you're going to get like no across the board. You're going to get Anthony Black, yes. Jalen Suggs, maybe. Paolo Banchero, yes. Everybody else, question marks. Question marks across the board. Cole Anthony, above average point guard, passer? No, I don't think so. So, you do the same test with the Lakers. You think Dalton Connect is an above average passer as a 2 guard? No, I don't think so. So it's just like you go across and you're like, damn, like, is there another team that's just this loaded with passing talent? Okay. And then you start doing the same thing. You isolate for cutting talent, like off-ball movement patterns, right? You look at short rolls, screening, rebounding. Shit, rebounding is a fucking great thing. I think Jonathan Mobo is a great rebounder. Like, I really think like he'll get bigger, and it's just all that length and that second jump that he has is just going to come through, right? I watched this guy dominate the glass in the Western.
For sure. And I hate to cut you off. I saw something on Twitter that was a little bit too funny not to share. Someone tweeted out, and I can't find it. I tried to find it after the game, that Mugbo is Precious Achua with a handle and a brain. That like basketball IQ. And I was like,
why do people keep comparing him to Precious Achua? I've seen it like four times in the chat already. I don't see it at all.
I don't see it at all, but I think it's because it's like 6'8" guy, like 6'8", 6'9", athletic as hell, jumps out the gym. I think that's why. I think it's like the same. I don't know. It's kind of like the same thing where right now people are comparing Shed to Lowry.
Is it the hair?
6 foot point guard.
Let's not overthink this. It's a hair.
It might be the hair.
It's the hair.
It might be the hair.
It's 100% the hair. It's 100% the hair. It's a 6'8" guy with long arms, and he has a similar hairstyle. And unfortunately, if we had it, somebody compared him to Naz Reid, and I'm like, bro, it's the hair again.
Yeah,
it's the hair again.
He's not even built like Naz Reid. He's somewhat built like Precious Achua. There's not a Naz Reid build there.
Precious Achua is a freakish athlete, though.
Precious Achua is in the wrong sport. Someone needs to teach that man how to play football. He'd be a dangerous defensive end. Dangerous.
Would he make more than $6 million a year doing it though?
Hell yeah. Search up TJ Watt's salary. Search up Myles Garrett's salary. I mean, he'd be dangerous. He's fast as hell.
Is he gonna have an 8-year career though in the NFL?
Probably not. Those knees, you never know what those basketball knees are like.
That's true. Yeah. Anyways, any closing thoughts?
I'm good. I appreciate it. I'm sorry for taking so much of your time.
No, it's cool. I'm glad that you and Coach Mo called. I think people are a little bit shy from the off season. We're not getting a ton of callers. I remember, a few years ago, we used to get like 10 people just calling in and be like buzzing off the board. I think there's a lack of overall enthusiasm and interest in this team right now overall. Yeah. And personally, I'm just very curious to see how this all works out, because this is gearing up to be one hell of a fun season, provided health stays intact. Again, this rebuilding, we're rebuilding stuff has led a lot of people to believe this team is going to be really bad, but I don't see it.
I don't know. Yeah. They said they were trying to contend the past few years, and it was pretty bad. So I'll take it that now they want to say we're rebuilding. Maybe we'll play better. So, I mean,
the pressure is off.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
If front office comes out and says we're rebuilding, it's just like, all right, okay. You got one win. That's great. You beat the Milwaukee Bucks. That's fucking fantastic. So, in a weird way, this will backfire. I'm telling you, it's gonna backfire. Everything the Raptors do backfires. Have you
You know
noticed
what?
that?
It probably feels good for Darko for them to say that because there's probably no front office or ownership pressure on him right now to perform. He just has to like perform as in like win games, right? He just has to keep showing development. Like his job is from a front office and ownership, obviously not fan perspective, but from like a front office and ownership perspective right now is going to be valued and judged off of how much better are these guys getting, not how many games are you winning. And
Mhm.
that's going to be something that's very, very good for him because I have no doubt in my mind every single player under Darko is going to get better.
Yeah.
And
So
he's gonna have a legit chance in a year or two when it is time to win. He's gonna have 3-4 years of development under his belt with these guys, and he's gonna have a legit shot instead of him just being a developmental coach and then they put false expectations on him and then he gets fired and they bring in someone else. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna have a legit chance, and that's what I read from the front office saying that
right.
just a little bit is like the pressure is not on him. And I think that's a really positive situation to put a coach in because, year one was terrible. If year two is terrible too, most franchises are looking at getting rid of that guy.
Was it terrible though? Because I think Scotty developed, RJ developed, and IQ
That's what,
developed,
but
and I
that's what
think
I'm saying.
Grady
That's my
developed.
argument.
Those are your four guys of
That's
consequence
that's
last
that's
year,
my
right?
argument. That's my argument, right? Is like you saw
And
all
you
those
built
guys
a
get,
great team culture despite your entire team falling apart.
and that's my argument exactly on why I think it's good that the front office came out and said that we're rebuilding because it takes all the pressure off of him.
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm just reading the lines in between the lines. But that's kind of what I take away from it because most franchises, and correct me if I'm wrong, when they hire a developmental coach, they keep him there for development until it's time to win, and they fire him and they hire a guy that's been fired by 2 different places, but he has a championship, like a Frank Vogel type situation, right? The Suns got rid of Monty Williams, hired Frank
Mhm.
Vogel, right? Kind of thing. There's not.
I think head coaches in general are very political, jobs in the NBA. And so
Mhm.
what I would assume is if the Raptors decide to shift focus away from development, not that they should ever really lose development as a focus. Obviously, we've seen the fruits of that labor and it's not good. I think if you were ever to move away from that, you could simply just bring a little bit more experience to your coaching staff, right? Like overall schematically. But I think Darko is a really smart coach. Like tactically, I think he's really smart. And again, you really it's not rocket science, it's basketball.
Mhm.
Understanding people is a fundamental part of coaching. Getting the best out of people is a fundamental part of coaching. Putting people in the right mind space and mindset to grow, develop, nurture. I don't even buy this notion that, you have to separate at development versus winning coaches. Like, yes, there are coaches that have that sort of strength of being tactically oriented where adjustments like a Nick Nurse. And maybe that coach is going to get a more veteran laden team that is already kind of they're capable of self-policing a little bit better, right?
Right.
They don't need the big bad wolf to be like, "Hey guys, keep your head up. It's a long season." Like you don't need to tell Chauncey Billups in year 12 to keep his head up. It's a long season. He knows that. So veteran laden teams are going to require a different voice, and maybe what Darko is doing, over practicing, over teaching. This would be very redundant and very annoying, actually, if you had a Fred Van Vliet here. Because a Fred Van Vliet could literally teach a course in this, right? He don't need that. So I think it's just at this point, he's gonna have to just grow with the team,
For sure.
right?
That's
And
quite
and the ideal version of this is, that he in year 3 is ready to go out and compete. Like go out and compete for a championship next year.
yep.
Right. And I know that, there's a small segment of Raptor fans that really do think that the top 5 pick next year is the solution, right? But at what point is that top 5 pick going to be a meaningful contributor on a winning team? Because
Or
most top 5 picks are going to be 19 years old,
yep.
18 to 19 years old, right?
Yep.
Okay. The average 18 to 19-year-old contributes to losing, not winning. But
Yep.
because they're gonna be a top 5 pick, you're gonna have to play them, which means they're going to be affecting your win-loss total by, like, -2 wins, just by existing on your roster. A Bruce Brown is gonna help you win a lot more next year than Come on, Malwalk. Easy. You know,
Unless you get one of the top, unless you are guaranteed that you're going to get the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick, there is absolutely no reason to tank.
yeah, I mean,
And that's
if
not
I
to say
if,
there's
if
not
I
good
if I
players.
told you that Ace Bailey is as good as Ace Bailey is and as good as he's going to be, if I tell you Ace Bailey has -2 win shares after his rookie season, I'm not surprised and I'm not bearish. That's expected. He
No,
has a lot of physical growth to go. There's a lot of game development and stuff. These kids, you know, unfortunately, these kids like LaMelo Ball, Cade Cunningham, etc., they get drafted into situations as franchise saviors, so they're franchise players on day one. And people are like, hey, kid, here's the ball, go fucking hoop. And these kids are like, okay, I'm going to do what I know how to do, which is generate offense the way I've generated offense at AAU level, college level. It's not good enough. You don't have that like traditional pipeline of development. I was thinking about how many number 1 picks actually do anything of consequence in the NBA. Go through the list.
it's pretty thin.
Most of them suck.
It's pretty thin. Yep.
Like, even the ones that are good have barely done anything. Can you imagine? The New Orleans Pelicans had both Zion Williamson and Anthony Davis, really big talents. How much winning did they do with either one of those guys?
And right now they're winning in spite of Zion.
Right. And even if Zion loses weight and can put himself together for a season, I don't think you're winning a championship. Like, I don't think you're ever going to win a championship with Zion Williamson as your best player. And
No.
that's just, it's not a knock on Zion's talent. It's a knock on Zion's maturation. It's a knock on the level that you have to get to, but it's also a lack of development. He's not a fundamentally better player than he was when he was a rookie. Like, he's advanced his playmaking a little bit, but he's not that much better. So again, you know, you see Blake Griffin. How many championships did Blake Griffin win? Those are the good ones. I just mentioned 3 of the best number 1 picks over the last 25 years, and they didn't win shit. So, you know, when I think of the track record of the San Antonio Spurs and how their first overall picks are all winners, pretty much. Tim Duncan, David Robinson, that's a lot of winning right there. You know, and now you got Victor Wembanyama. I'll guarantee I don't need to see the end of this book. I know how this book ends. It ends with Victor Wembanyama holding a Larry Brown trophy. If he stays healthy, he's winning championships. And that is a testament to how they develop. That is a testament to the fact that he's not being asked to do something that he cannot objectively do right now. He's not being asked to, you know, run 100 isolation possessions a game and sell tickets, you know? So I just think, like, you know, this notion of, okay, well, like, if the 2 things can't be true. The top 5 pick next year cannot be the savior if you think Scotty's a franchise player. Like those 2 things, because those 2 players aren't even on the same level. They're not on the same timeline. When that kid is ready to contribute to winning, he's going to be 21 years old and Scotty's going to be 26.
Yep.
So you could say, okay, well, you know, when Scotty's 26, that kid's 21. Now they can be like Kobe and Shaq, that kind of thing, right? Probably not, right? So I don't know. I'm not against tanking. If that's what happens, I'm kind of on record with that. But I also don't think it's like the be all end all.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. And like, that's not to be disrespectful and say like picks 3 through 10. Like there's not going to be good players in there because there's going to be all-stars. There's going to be all NBA guys. There might be a Hall of Famer. Picks 3 through 10. I just don't think it's not worth it if you're not guaranteed Cooper or Ace. And that's just my opinion. I mean, you can disagree with me, but I that's just my opinion. Like, there's no point. You might as well try, because I think this team is at least a play-in team. At the least,
if we drafted Dylan Harper, would you start thinking about trading Immanuel Quickley?
No, I believe in IQs. I believe in IQ. I think IQ is the long-term answer here. Like, if you tell me in the next 10 years the Raptors won a championship and Immanuel Quickley was a starting point guard, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks a lot for calling in. Appreciate you as always. And
Yes, sir.
Go Buckeyes. All right.
Yes, sir. Take care. OH.
What? Okay. Daryl, what's going on?
Hey, man.
It's been a long off season. How have you been? How's your summer going?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Okay, I just literally had
no.
my wife just called.
I'm echoing. I can hear myself.
Oh, that's weird because I don't have YouTube on. So let me figure out what's going on here.
Do you have me on speaker?
I do not.
Okay.
So anyway, I'll try leaving and calling right back.
No, I think you're good now. I think you're good.
Am I
You're
good now? I think what just happened is just my timing is totally like this. My wife literally just called 1 second after you let me into the room, and so I had to leave the call, and so my Bluetooth headset does weird stuff when
Gotcha.
okay. Call. Anyway, how's it going, man? Long time no talk.
Yes, sir. What'd you think of the game?
Been a minute. It's been a minute. No, it was fun. It was fun. I had to catch the first half on the commute to work. Thankfully, the traffic was bad, so I got a lot of gaps. I got to take my eyes off the road for a bit, but I was encouraged by a lot of the things that I saw. I think you've covered pretty much, everything. I was actually listening to the Washington feed. That was pretty interesting because they kept talking about how the Raptors were like a football team out there, just with the physicality, and it's like they kept saying, like Alex Sarr couldn't get anything going because he was getting elbowed in the chest, and they're like, welcome to the NBA, kid. This is what it's like. You're going up against guys that are not going to take it easy on you. And this Raptors team is just so physical. They use the word physical probably like 100 times.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really impressed with their overall compete level defensively, but also if this is the reputation, then the Raptors have really picked up on the MO of what this city has always embraced. So yeah, you may not be the most talented team, but man, this city might really rally around this team. And so here's the weirdest dream that I've had. Okay, this is fan fiction. This is borderline. I can't believe in a million years that any sensible basketball analyst would ever say this. But here is my most optimistic projection for the Toronto Raptors. 47 wins and Scotty Barnes finishes top 5 in MVP voting.
Nice. 47, huh?
47 again. We got to go 47 wins again. That's why I asked for 47 likes on this video before we started, because it's just this number. Like everything the Raptors do backfires, right? We know this. The Jakob Poeltl trade backfired, cost you Fred VanVleet. Trying to trade Kyle Lowry, trying to trade Rudy Gay, backfired, started We the North. You try to tank, you can't tank. You try to be good, you can't be good. DeMar DeRozan's daughter, DR DeRozan, basically derails your entire, franchise, right? You finally tank last year. What happens? You surrender the fucking pick to the San Antonio Spurs. So it's just like nothing has ever worked out. You finally get the center of the future, blood clots, right? You finally get your power forward of the future. He's a fucking he's a degenerate gambler who's going to jail. So it's just like, the Raptors are just like this franchise that just gets up and just gets smacked in the face. So right now you're ready to tank. You traded away everybody. Dennis Schroeder gone. Gary Trent Jr. gone. Well, I got news for you. I don't think either one of those guys contributed a win last year. So you haven't gotten rid of anything, right? And you bring in this young, exciting development coach who's all enthusiastic and trying to teach people how to be better people and trying to be better communicators and trying to get them to put away their phones. And you're thinking, we got a babysitter in the house, right? Like and I just feel like you're gonna change enough of the things that create losing, at which point you're gonna have nothing. All that will remain are the things that create winning. And there's gonna be an obnoxious number of teams that take us lightly early in the season. And I think you get some surprise wins there. There's gonna be a really big push from Scotty Barnes for All NBA. I think you're gonna get some wins there. There's probably going to be a lot of tanking teams towards the end of the year. You're going to get some wins there. I don't think 47 wins is crazy. I'll take the over on 30 so easy.
Oh man, me too.
Yeah.
Like no, people are talking about
on paper. This is a fucking 25 win team. I get it.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. But when you watch, like just today, I know it's just one game, it's just in the preseason, but like we were like without 3 of the top 5 players on this team and playing against a healthy up and coming Washington team, a young team with all of their good players. Yo, teacher Mike. And we made them look like trash with our fourth stringers, it's just the toughness and the togetherness and the ball movement that we're playing with, the winning habits that you see. Like these guys are throwing their bodies around for each other, and that's going to lead to wins. It's an overachieving team. That's what this is. This is going to be an overachieving team. You're right, on paper it's not. There's going to be teams, like you said, that take us lightly. There's going to be, but on the other side, as a physical team, there are going to be nights when we're going to get slammed by fouls. We're going to get guys fouling out. The refs are not always going to be on our side, and then there's going to be some frustration. But I just see the camaraderie, that the identity being built is exactly what we need going forward. This is a team ahead of schedule.
I want to say shout outs to Ulrich Shamshay for leading the entire team in fouls in 6 minutes.
In like 6 minutes, yeah.
4 fouls. It was like moving screen, breathing, foul.
Yeah.
You know, he is so impressively raw. It's hilarious. But also, like, I have so much faith in him going forward. Like, nothing I saw today. Like, if you thought I was gonna come out here and be like, pump the brakes, it's all a farce, you know. Nope.
I loved it.
I saw a kid who's just like really just rearing to go and super anxious, but not afraid of anybody. That dude is not afraid. He and Jamal Shead came on as rookies, saw Kyle Kuzma and said, fuck Kyle Kuzma. Like, these guys are not afraid of anybody. And that fearlessness translates to success. Like, to me, you know, I played enough basketball in my life to tell you, like, when you're afraid, you lose. Like, you lose before you even start the game, right? When you start to hype yourself up on like, oh no, it's a big game, and the jitters, they just get the best of you. You fuck up, you start like, you beat yourself, right? So these guys with this irrational confidence, and they come in and be like, I'm Ulrich Shamshay, you know, I'm the you know, from Bafang, I'm 18-year-old, you know, and the 57th overall pick, and just to come out there and just deck someone out and block a shot and, you know, get that dunk in. I'm so impressed with him. I love him.
I loved it. And the Washington broadcasters, they were hilarious. They were like, they're like saying this, they're like, Ulrich Shamshay, like he's all arms, just, and they were making fun. They're just like he's fouling like every 2 seconds. I think, just take advantage of your minutes, kid. Just do it. Just get those fouls. You know, they were loving it. They were loving it too.
No, absolutely. I think what will be very apparent with Ulrich is, if, like, I'll bet anything that from today till October 6th, 2025, no player is going to grow more on this team over the next 12 months than this kid.
That wouldn't
He is
surprise
a
me at all.
sponge. He does not like stop. He's unrelenting. He asks all the questions, and he has this crazy motor. Like, yeah, I trust his work ethic. I trust his tools, and yeah, he's got a really long way to go. Basketball is, you know, it's there's a lot of natural stuff that, you know, and you wonder sometimes with players like who are this raw, you're like, man, there's a lot of lines that need to get connected here, right? Like, there's a lot of wires that are a little bit loose with him. Is he ever going to figure out his off-ball placement? Is he ever going to break some of these bad habits that he has off the ball? Is he ever going to stop, you know, just automatically posting up in the pinch post? And it's like, the slow development of better habits, like as you see it, that's going to be the encouraging sign that when he makes a mistake, does he get into the film room the next day, study that mistake, and then not make that same mistake? So he jumped on a couple of shots today. He bumped into a player. Like, he was just straight comedy. Like, he's acting the fool, like 100%. Does he come out and repeat those mistakes again, like the next week, the next month? Is it going to be another Precious Achua? No, of course not. You know, I think that this kid is going to learn. I think he's going to be good. And I'm just so happy. Like, I think if you told me the Raptors took 4 Flyers in one of the weakest drafts in recent memory and got 4 players this good, my only question is how? How did you get this kind of talent at 19, 31, 45, and 57?
Yeah.
I think we need a shirt, you know, to immortalize this rookie class with just those 4 numbers laid out in some sort of intricate design. And that'll just be like, this is like the day the Raptors' future changed, because they got all these incredible role players.
That'll redeem anything anyone's saying about Masai and Bobby for sure. If they can, in this draft, have 4 hits where they got it, like that would shut everybody up.
Dude, if you get 2 hits,
yeah,
it's 2 more than you should be expecting, given the picks you had in as weak a draft as you had. We did some, you know, we did a live, and we were just going through, I think 2 lives ago, where we were going through the value replacement of every single top 10 players in every single draft from 1996. and we found that half the players were top 13 picks, almost always, and then the rest were scattered throughout. So the odds of you having 4 of those, I mean, that would be just fucking crazy. Or this draft is just way better than people realize. You know, maybe it was.
Little both could be true.
That's true. You know, maybe there are a couple of all-stars. Maybe there's no all-stars, but there's just like 13 really great role players. Like, what if there are like 13 Contavious Caldwell Popes, but not one Jamal Murray? You know what I mean? Well, I'll take it if we got 4 of those Contavious Caldwell Popes. Holy crap. Yeah, you take it. So yeah, I think the Raptors got an excellent value here. And I just feel like as much as they're building this up as year 1 of the rebuild, it's really not. It's really not. You know, it's a nice media talking point, but this does not feel like you're one of the reading. What did you feel of Grady Dick? Anything stuck out with him?
Yeah, I mean, he was noticeable every single time that he was. I mean, every one of his minutes was an impactful minute. Now, I really loved what I saw overall. It was a mixed bag. I'm not trying to pretend that he didn't make any mistakes. I love to see the steps that he's taken, but there were some defensive rotations that he missed. He got crossed up a few times by not knowing where to go, and I don't know if you saw it, but the Washington broadcast pointed out that Darko actually like reamed him out once, like full on reamed him out for missing a blow by. But overall, man, you can see the impact of his strength training. He is not afraid. He's not afraid to just to dive in there. I mean, he's trying to get around guys. He's cutting better. Everything that I saw about him is, you can see what he's working on. You can literally see it unfolding, the step by step that he's just minute by minute. It's like, oh, I've never seen him do that before. Or last time he did that, he got spun around like a windmill, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, you can see that everything that he worked on, he's trying to become everything that he wasn't. And so it kind of makes you wonder, well, okay, he was drafted to be this movement shooter, this spot up shooter, this floor spacer, and everything that he's doing now is getting away from that. But the well-rounded, I mean, he's going to be a player that's capable of being, he can be on the floor at all points in the game. He can finish games, he can start games, he's going to be that kind of versatile player if he can just keep working on his touch around the basket and just his quickness, his quick decision making. That's what I like. He's doing things right away without hesitation most of the time.
What do you make? What do you make of this quote?
What's that?
What do you make of this quote?
Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Well, I mean, no lies detected. Shed did a great job on Carrington, making him look quite mortal.
You know what? That's the thing. Like, there's 2 green flags already when a player, number one, like, decides that they're not going to settle for a 2-way. That's usually a big green flag for me, because that means they have like a clear idea of who they want to be. You know, Fred had a really clear idea that he wanted to choose his spot. He didn't care about the draft or whatever, because, you know, weirdly enough, it's that cookie experiment, the stale cookie experiment. You're familiar with it, right?
Do you mean the, like, is it that the same one as the marshmallow experiment, or is that a different thing?
It's the same thing. Yeah. So there's, well, is it marshmallows? That doesn't make any sense.
You mean
I think it's cookies, donuts. It's donuts. It's a stale donut thing. So this is the immediate gratification thing, right?
Yeah. It's like you tell the kid.
Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, you tell the kid, like, if you wait, you get 2. If you don't wait, you can eat it now. But if you wait, you get more later. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And so I just think, you know, typically players who have a tendency to gravitate towards immediate gratification, like people who have that immediate, you know, that thing of like, I need the quick hit now. Those are the people that really, really desperately want to get drafted. They want to go higher than this other guy. But in all honesty, it means very little in the longer term. you want to be able to pick your destination. You want to make sure there's some opportunity for you to play, and you definitely want to get some sort of, contract security in that situation. So Jamal Shead, basically pushing his way to Toronto, it's very similar to Trace Jackson Davis and what he did last year, right? Trace Jackson Davis was one of the best rookies in his class last year. So to me, that's a really big green flag. I'm not saying every single prima donna in the second round who's trying to pick and choose their spot is going to be good. I'm just saying, typically, if you're doing that, I'm interested in you. The second thing is just his first dial up against the guy who was picked ahead of him, and he's already taken shots at him. I love that too. You should take it personally that Bub Carrington was picked ahead of you. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like, I know why Bub Carrington was picked ahead of you. I would have picked Bub Carrington ahead of you too, but you should absolutely take that personally because you were a better player than him, right?
You were absolutely, he was, yeah. And I just think, like, it depends on who it's coming from too. Like, if it's coming from some, airhead guy or some 5'8" Marquise Noel type guy, like, you just kind of got. But I mean, this is a guy with such a good head on his shoulders and is such a high character guy. So you take it seriously what he's saying. Like, you don't just roll your eyes at it. You're just like, yeah. I mean, mic drop. That was awesome because he backed it up. Like, what he did is he made a guy picked ahead of him look ordinary. Yeah, I love it.
I think this city is going to fall in love with this team. I really do. Anyways, Daryl, any final thoughts?
Yeah, the most encouraging thing that I saw today was actually when the camera pointed at Scotty sitting next to Immanual Quickley, and they were talking and pointing at the game. And I mean, you could tell that they were discussing things about the game the whole time. Every single time the camera pointed at those two guys, their heads were together and they were just like, they were dissecting stuff. They were discussing stuff. Like, it's going to be great, man. This chemistry and the camaraderie is going to be incredible.
So basically there was a one play, and again, we're watching different feeds, so we probably got very different camera angles, which is great. We're doing the Scotty and IQ thing. We're coming together. We're seeing, so I noticed there was one play where Scotty had to turn around to deal with something, and then he turned around and he quickly turned either to Immanuel Quickley or one of the coaches, and he said, "What play are we running?" And he just wanted to catch up. And then he started pointing, and then Immanuel Quickley was pointing, and it was like they were having a discussion about it, and then the coaching staff would have a timeout, and then they would get up and they'd be in the timeout and they're trying to like say stuff. There was a case where I can't remember who walked past Scotty, and Scotty like said something to him, and I was like, yo, this is good. This is functional. Every organization that's successful has a leader that does this, right? And that kind of dialed in focus, where how easy would it be for him to just shoot the shit with Chris Boucher at the end of the bench the entire time, right? How easy would that be, right? But the idea that Darko Rajakovic has, instilled in him that, hey, eyes on you. We'll go as far as you go. So if that's going to be your demeanor, end of the bench, not paying attention to the game, yawning, if that's going to be your demeanor, that's going to be your team. If you want that on your team, go do that.
And that's the difference that's going to separate Washington and Toronto. The talent difference is, I mean, there is a bit of a gap, but it's the other stuff that really separates these two teams. It's Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma versus IQ and Scotty.
Yeah, and it's like the more I listen to Immanuel Quickley talk about his favorite books, talk about his life, the more I listen to Jamal Shead, the more I listen to, obviously, just listen so much of Scotty Barnes. It's like these are the people that have that desire to grow into winners. Like, they care. Like, it matters to them when they lose. They take it personally. And you want to build a program around a whole bunch of kids who don't care about winning? I don't. That is the last thing in the world is I want to do is cover a team. Like, most people, they can't see the forest in the trees, so they're very, very invested in trading for a Kevin Durant, even if it costs them a Scotty Barnes, because they just want a fun team to cover. They want a team that a lot of people care about, because in the end, it's going to lead to clicks, right? If you're in the media or if you're in this game right now, if the Raptors traded for Kawhi Leonard, let's say they gutted their future picks and Clippers were like, fuck it, we're out, and they traded for Kawhi Leonard, I guarantee you, instead of 377 people in here, we have like 900 to 1,000 people in here. That's dollars in my pocket. That's more super chats. That's more everything. Why am I not rooting for that? Why am I rooting for these kids? It's because in the end, I'm not rooting for a win. I'm rooting for winning. And it's not the same. Like, at some point, the winning habits result in actual wins. But it's like until that point, you just have to deal with the fact that you're just gonna have a team that's gonna play hard, is gonna be physical, that's gonna play together, that's gonna communicate. And that's beautiful to watch because I damn near pulled out half my hair when the Raptors went 41-41. And I had a much, much better time last year. So yeah.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
100%. For sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Anyways, man, thanks for calling in. Really good to connect with you. And yeah, what's the over under on the number of times I'm gonna lose my shit on one of these call-in shows this year?
It's lower now. It's lower now than it would have been in the past.
That is
true. But from my perspective, from an audience member's perspective, I'm kind of hoping for it a couple of times.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure there will be good reasons to. Let's just say the over under on how many good reasons you'll have. Let's put it at, oh man, I don't know, 7.
I mean, like I think the bar for what was worth like calling someone an asshole and blocking them from the chat like 2 years ago was Scotty Barnes is a bad passer. Fuck yourself. You're done.
Yeah, that's
Stop
right.
plays 2K saying 2.5. Okay, well, I'm gonna try to hit the under on that one. I'm not excited about losing my shit. Honestly, I watch a lot of ESPN, and honestly, listening to people scream at other people is not my cake. And I'm on Player's Choice a lot now, so I get plenty of that on that platform. This is a good happy place. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Daryl. Thanks for calling in.
We'll talk again. We'll talk again for sure.
Yeah. Talk soon. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's get to the post game. Okay.
A week about defensive pressure and ball pressure. How did you think you guys handled tonight?
I thought for the most part of the game, we did a pretty good job of applying ball pressure, some situations picking up full court as well. We need to understand how to do it, what is the purpose of doing it. So there is more work ahead of us, regarding all of that. I thought that was good to go out there and play official game. And as I said before the game, that it's going to be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun playing in front of fans over here. So I thought it was a good game for us.
What was your impressions of just the ball pressure you're able to get, particularly out of your point guards, both with Jamal backing up Mitchell?
Both of them, they did a really good job. Everything starts with ball pressure and how you guard their point guards. There were situations that we were able to get their point guards out of the set, and they were not able to organize their offense. I was pleased the way we were guarded. The only moment when we got away a little bit from the identity that we want to have was in that third quarter, but we were able after timeout to get back to that identity and to finish the game strong.
With Davion in particular, what did you think of how he managed your team? Just he's plus 22 for the game, no turnovers.
He did a really good job. I thought that he did a good job in pick and roll, just making some really good reads. Is that finding a shooter or finding bigs in pocket in the roll. He was also he had a good balance of attacking the rim as well. When they gave him some opportunities, he used his speed. He got to the rim. So I thought that he did a good job tonight. And it's good to have both him and Jamal so they can push each other and to get another gear there.
In terms of evaluating that ball pressure, obviously that's a big eye test thing and game feel and film after, but is there anything you look at after, number of steals, number of deflections, anything like that to give you a gauge of, our guys did a good job or a poor job tonight?
Several things that we're looking at. Deflections are part of the equation because a lot of times deflections are coming not just on ball pressure. It might come out of helps, being in gaps, but we're actually charting every possession, every time when somebody's playing one-on-one. Are we applying the pressure? What it looks like, that can give us good numbers for the team and really good for individual for each player, so they know when they're doing a good job or not. So it's just part of this big equation. And as you said, there is not one number that you look at and it can give you a clear answer.
Is there anything on RJ?
RJ, right shoulder contusion. We're gonna reevaluate tomorrow morning, and we'll know tomorrow morning more.
Did you get to look at, you guys said you were tracking every possession at halftime, what the ball pressure looked like for different guys?
At the halftime, no. Then we got to come off of film. In game, it's not realistic to catch all of those. That's why we're going to have one coach who's going to have being assigned to do all of that and chart after every game. At the halftime, we had 9 more chances than our opponent. So that was something that we looked at, and that was important for us. Offensive glass and getting steals and getting those second chance opportunities.
So much of this feels like almost like orientation for the younger guys, but when you look at Chris, who's heading into year 8, how do you continuously try to challenge him or keep him engaged in ways that he needs to also develop if he wants to remain in the league, of course?
I literally treat him the same way I'm treating rookies. You know, I'm honest with him. I'm telling him when he's making mistakes. I'm praising him when he does a good job.
I think that is one of the most underrated comments of all time.
We have really good relationship, and he's allowing me to coach him, which I really appreciate. And it's been really, really fun summer with him, and great over here preseason. So we just got to continue going day by day, game by game, and I believe that we're going to see a lot of improvement for him this year.
You said it was a fun night for you. What stood out to you the most about playing in Montreal?
First of all, arena over here is very big. Somebody told me that it's 21,000 seats. Like they're very steep, so you can really feel the crowd being over the team, and support was great. Being here in Montreal for a couple of days was great. We had a fun team event yesterday, going a little bit on the river as well, which was great. Being on those jet boats, so it was amazing training camp so far, and that was part of the equation here. Having a lot of fun.
You acknowledged the crowd quite a few times, pointing out to people, you know, kind of connecting with them. It was a sellout crowd in a huge arena. What do you make of basketball in Montreal right now?
I mean, obviously, like, that's my second game, but we came here like 3-4 times already. So, you know, they sell out every time. The fans supports us. They embrace us when we're in town, and you can feel the love, obviously. And it's hard for me to not give it back when they support me all the way. So I'm glad that we had the win. I'm glad that we played well into standards, and that we were able to give them a good show.
Chris, what did you think of the defensive energy overall, in particular Davion and Jamal on the ball, point of attack?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should work extremely hard this summer to work on that. I think we're making it our identity. All of us is, you know, Jamal, great defensive player, Davion too, and I see them talk all the time, so definitely they're picking each other's brain, but I think all around the team, we always try to help each other out, and since we've been doing this since the summer, you can see that, you know, we're getting there faster than we should.
How does that change your role if you're in that safety spot or even at the 3 spot when the ball pressure's that high on the ball? How does that change what you're doing or what you're looking for?
Well, I mean, I think this year what's helping me out is being able to know when to help, not to help. I think that was one of my biggest issues before. But also when you work on it all summer, you kind of know who you're playing with and who is the one that's supposed to help and out. If I play with a guy like Jakob, I know he's going to go. I don't have to help that much. But if it's Kelly, he might want to stay home, and then that's me to go. So, you know, like I said, we spend a lot of time together. We got a lot of different ways of playing, and I think that the more we play together, the better we'll get, especially defensively.
How was the non-basketball part of the week for you, being kind of the ambassador for the team, for the city, yeah, but also like teammates hitting you up for recommendations and you kind of having to lead guys around, you being that kind of leader this week?
I've been preparing myself for that since they announced it last year. So I already did a lot of work. I kind of already told my teammates, like I said, we spent a lot of time together. So I already told them, give me what you guys like so I don't have to deal with it this week. And like I said, I mean, it's not my first training camp. I kind of know what to do now and got to get prepared for this. And like I said, for me, I didn't really do much. I had my event, and then I spend most of the time inside and just focusing on basketball. So I think it's really paying off right now. And the more that I learn, the more I'm with my teammates, talking to coach, I think that will bring us to a good place.
How was your event?
It was good. I mean, everybody came. I think that it was kind of hard for the comedian. I think it was a tough laugh. I think not everybody was laughing, but when it comes to the event, I think my teammates enjoyed it. We had a good time, and yeah, everybody's safe, everybody's healthy, so it was good.
Do you know how many friends and family you had here tonight?
Too many.
French questions, please.
Chris, tu l'as dit, c'est pas ta première expérience comme match à Montréal, mais comment tu l'as vécu? À quel point est-ce que c'était différent? Est-ce que tu en as profité davantage? Comment tu as vécu l'expérience du match ce soir?
La première fois que j'ai joué ici, j'étais un peu jeune. Je savais pas si j'allais jouer et tout, alors ça a pris un peu plus de temps pour moi de m'ajuster. Je pense que cette fois-ci, je m'attendais déjà à ce qui allait se passer. J'ai travaillé vraiment fort sur moi-même cet été, alors la confiance est là. Il faut juste que, comme j'ai dit, je mette tout ensemble. Et en ce moment, les coachs, mes teammates, ils m'aident beaucoup avec ça. Alors, on est en bonne position de faire un changement.
Est-ce que tu peux profiter de l'ambiance, de savourer du fait que tu es à Montréal?
Ah, c'est sûr. Comme j'ai dit, j'avais beaucoup d'amis ici. J'avais beaucoup d'anciens coachs, ma famille. Comme j'ai dit, dès que je suis arrivé à Montréal, je l'ai senti. Alors, dans une game comme ça, où est-ce que tu vois les fans, tu vois les enfants, tu vois la famille, des amis, c'est spécial. C'est vraiment spécial. Et comme j'ai dit, je les remercie. Quand je l'ai dit au début du match, quand j'ai dit je vous aime bien, je vous aime pour vrai, c'est la vérité. Je les aime comme si c'était mes frères et sœurs, parce qu'il y a beaucoup de gens que j'ai grandi avec et il y a beaucoup de gens qui m'ont supporté tout mon chemin.
Anyone else? Chris, les Raptors, c'est l'équipe du Canada. Trouves-tu que c'est important que les Raptors s'approprient le fait de prendre des joueurs canadiens, toi, Kelly Olynyk, R.J. Barrett? Est-ce que ça crée peut-être une cohésion de plus? Est-ce que tu penses que c'est important?
Et je pense que ça donne une fierté quand tu vois que tu es un Canadien dans l'équipe canadienne qui joue contre les États-Unis et tout. Ça fait du bien d'avoir 2-3 Canadiens qui sont dans l'équipe qui représentent le Canada. C'est sûr qu'on a une équipe qui représente le Canada, mais quand tu as des joueurs avec, c'est bien. Je pense que c'est comme quand tu regardes les Canadiens, quand tu as un Québécois dans l'équipe, c'est spécial. Alors, on voit ça de la même façon.
Last question. T'es rendu à ta 8e saison, et c'est quoi tes attentes? C'est quoi tes attentes pour l'équipe en tant que joueur, et c'est quoi, selon toi, que les coachs s'attendent de toi en tant que vétéran de l'équipe?
Juste être un joueur plus complet. Je pense qu'en ce moment, il y avait beaucoup de choses dans les dernières années. C'était OK, il shoot bien une fois, l'autre game, il shoot pas bien, il prend un rebond, il prend pas de rebond. En ce moment, je pense qu'on est capable de mettre tout ensemble. Et mentalement, je suis aussi à ma 8e année, alors je suis beaucoup plus mature quand ça vient à les conversations, parler à mes teammates, mais aussi dans les situations où est-ce que ça va pas bien. Mes réactions sont beaucoup plus calmes et beaucoup plus calculées.
Chris, les Raptors sont invaincus à Montréal, 6 victoires en 6 matchs. Est-ce que tu penses que tranquillement, on pourrait avoir des matchs de la saison régulière? Tu pourrais peut-être passer le mot à
Moi, je pense que c'est un signe d'avoir une équipe. On n'a pas encore perdu ici. Alors, je pense que ça veut dire tout dire.
Let's go!
I think that we've heard over and over again, point of attack defense is kind of being prioritized. And how much did you make a point of doing that when you got on the floor tonight?
Yeah, that was one of the main reasons they drafted me, and it was being preached all training camp since we got together in Spain. He just told us to just play as hard as we can, ball pressure, and just try to give 100% every play. So I tried to do that.
I mean, I think you had 4 or 5 assists and maybe just the 1 turnover. Did you feel a little more comfortable than you expected running the team offensively?
It's a little different when Davion Mitchell's not guarding you or DJ Carden. So, I felt a lot more comfortable, and, those guys give me a lot of confidence. Our bench was really good today. So I think it wasn't easier, but it was just a lot more, comfortable.
A lot of guys on the team, you, Davion, DJ, as you mentioned, good point of attack defenders. Grady is a guy who got drafted more for the offensive side of the floor, but you see Garrett, yourself, Darko always talking to him about pickup points and stuff like that. What did you make of his job defending the point of attack in this game?
I think Grady is taking on a really big role and really taking it upon himself to, try to make that a point of emphasis for himself. Especially since you're playing with guys like us three, it becomes contagious, and I think he did a really good job tonight.
Is there a defensive type of play that you enjoy making the most? whether it's like a steal or a shot clock or any type of play that stands out for you?
You know, when I can get the other team to foul me on and get an offensive foul, I think that really gets the crowd and my teammates going.
Yup.
Sort of smack the floor when that happened today.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
I mean, you got.
He absolutely baited Bub Carrington into that offensive foul, and I loved it because Bub had a hell of a night after that.
Got into it a little bit with Carrington there. He kind of got into it with you. Is that an example where you kind of know that your pressure is bothering people?
I wouldn't say bothering. Me and him have a little bit of a history. He got the best of me in a workout in pre-draft, so I had to come out and try to make it as hard as possible. But he's going to be really, really good. He's young. He's really talented, and you know, I just tried to give him a little taste of some type of NBA-ready defense. So he's going to be really good.
Alex Sara was in here, and he was talking about kind of getting adjusted to the NBA speed. You looked really fast out there. What did you make of the speed and kind of this is your first preseason game, making sense of that?
And I'm going to go back to it again. When Davion is guarding you, it is really hard. So, you know, I tried to slow down a little bit today, but, you know, with him not in front of me, everything kind of opened up. And, you know, I was just trying to play as hard as I can, and that just eventually ended up me running a lot. So the speed, it wasn't really the problem. I think just not having Davion in front of me was really the best thing for me today.
Okay, can I just clarify one thing? Davion Mitchell is his direct competition for minutes this year. If at some point Jamal Shead is ever going to climb to the point where he's going to be a regular part of the Raptors rotation, it's not going to be him, Davion, and Immanual Quickley. It's going to be him or Davion. The fact that he continuously goes back and gives Davion Mitchell his flowers is everything I need to know about this guy. Yup. Yup. Exactly.
How hard was it for you to sit out and watch Friday as the precaution with your hip there?
You know, Darko came up to me. He told me that I wasn't going to play just because of the precautionary stuff. And it was fun to really sit back and actually watch how hard we play as a team and just, you know, get to cheer on everybody. But, you know, I was itching to get back out there, so today was really fun.
A lot has been said about this team being cohesive and they like each other. Do you feel that, and why do you think that worked so quickly with this group?
I think Coach Darko took a lot of steps to get us to this point. You know, just meeting in Spain, meeting in Miami, and then, you know, our training camp down here. We're playing in Montreal. You know, we had a lot of trips this summer together. You know, Quick also hit me up a lot. We played a lot of open gym together, and then, you know, I think everybody wanting to be around each other, it helps a lot. So I think this group is really good, and I think we have a lot of really good vets that, you know, bring us together.
On media day, Darko talked about the most important guy, the MIG, being the guy on ball. Talked about higher pickup points, talked about more ball pressure. I'm wondering, the first time you talked to Darko or when you got drafted with the Raptors, did they bring up the line of scrimmage, Houston, and that they're kind of emulating some of those tenets now this year?
Yeah, that was a part of my draft work. We watched a lot of film. You know, he pointed out my point of attack stuff, and he was like, if you end up here, you know, we're going to need that out of you every night. And that's the one thing I could do. So, you know, that's just effort. And, you know, going back to Coach Sampson, that's just all he preaches. So I think that I could do that for him every night.
You mentioned that a couple times there, things are a little easier when Davion's not guarding you. This is a team now, like you just mentioned, you're working out with Quickley a lot in the offseason. He's going to go now from having you and Davion guard him every day. Jacoby's going to go from having you and Davion guard him every day. You think that has an impact, and have you experienced that at Houston with your guys getting better?
Yeah, man, if you challenge each other and challenge, you know, your teammates every single day without any let up, you know, everybody gets better.
I literally talked about this 2 lives ago, and I'm so happy I did. It is such an underrated part that your second unit be defensively oriented and they sharpen the offensive talents of your starters. And I brought it up in relation to how much it helps that the second unit for the Raptors, like that bench mob, was as good as they were. Like, your scrimmages are like, how good are those Knicks scrimmages going to be? Jericho Sims, Deuce McBride, Precious Achua, and God knows what else. You need to build cohesion with your starting 5. right? You're not going to split OG and Mikal up because they need to learn how to play together, but they also need to learn how to play against a closeout. They need to know how to play against physical defense. And unfortunately, if you're super top heavy, you usually don't get that. Like that bench is so underrated. So underrated. And typically teams that are winning championships recently, they have pretty solid benches. Yeah.
There's my first day guarding Immanuel Quickley was not easy. But he made me better on the defensive end, and then I started to guard him, and he got better on the offensive end. So iron sharpens iron is a thing that everybody says, but it really is true.
All right. Okay. This has been a fun live. We had almost 500 people in here. That's awesome. Love those numbers. And yeah, we're going to have you covered all preseason, all season. We're not going to miss a game. If we do miss a game, it's going to be in February or March for Pendants, but we'll make it up to you later. I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to, last year, by the end of the season, we were the most watched Raptors show, like the post-game show. We were, believe it or not, we were clipping out numbers and we were checking the numbers and we were beating the Raptors' own TV product. Now, obviously, we're beating them on YouTube. We're obviously not beating them on TV. So let's step it up even further. Okay. By the start of the season, we're going to fix some of the production quality stuff. Hopefully, we can get a lot of lively call-in shows. Please feel free to disagree with me. Please feel free to have an opinion that is wildly different opinions. That whole iron sharpens iron thing. It's not just true for basketball. It's also true for debate. So we can definitely do that. And hopefully we'll have a lot to cheer about, a lot to discuss. And overall, I'm happy the Raptor season is starting. I'm happy it started with such a competitive effort. And yeah, I'm proud to be a Raptor fan again. I wasn't 2 years ago. I gotta be honest. Like I was really embarrassed with the basketball that was being played. Even last year to start, there was a lot of crappy basketball being played. But now, more and more, with every single new face that comes in, every habit that is changed, every bad habit that's broken, I'm seeing a team that is really, and not to sound like I'm some basketball authority or whatever, it's just I have a preference for a certain style of basketball. I'm seeing a team that is really starting to match the vision of what I think a great basketball team is supposed to be, which is together, connected, defensively, offensively, hardworking, making the extra pass, playing for each other. This is the beautiful game, right? This is the beautiful game. This is how you win championships. Setting solid screens. Like there was a lot made last year. I remember there was a particular video that surfaced that one of you sent in of a really, really ass suspect Pascal Siakam screen on Scotty Barnes. And you're just like, Jesus Christ, if that's happening on my basketball team, I don't want to be on that basketball team. So you do have to understand that these small things, even if they don't show up in the box score, they have a massive impact on the win-loss. And I'm not seeing anyone who's putting I above team right now. I'm not seeing anyone who's got some sort of alternate agenda of like, oh, just get me out of here. I just want a big bag or whatever. And they've done a really good job of weeding out that personality type from this team. Basically, if you don't want to be here, if you don't want to do the right things, if you don't want to stay connected, even if you're a vet, if you don't want to be a teacher, you're just gone. Garrett Temple, if you don't want to teach, you're gone, right? You want to teach, you can stay, but if you don't want to teach, you're gone. Kelly Olynyk, you want to sit and pout if you don't get minutes, you're gone too. This idea of, and then so imagine yourself, try to imagine yourself as a 22, 23-year-old rookie, and you seeing Kelly Olynyk coming off the bench or maybe getting 8 minutes or 10 minutes because the matchup dictates it, and he's not sulking and he's being a super pro about it. You're kind of looking around like, dude, if a 12-year, 13-year pro who's had a really good career in the NBA can do it, I can do it too. Yeah. I think development's so underrated. I could literally go on and on about it for another 4 hours, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wish y'all a really great night. It's almost 1 a.m. I'll see you guys, likely on Monday or Tuesday. And if you're more interested in listening to me debate other basketball topics or talk about the league at large, obviously I'm on Player's Choice this week. Player's Choice, the panel on Wednesday and Friday. That'll be at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll definitely do a couple of lives. Let me know once this video goes live if there's a particular topic that you would like to explore in a live. Would you like to explore, Jamal Shead, Jacoby Walter, guard depth, screening, a particular play? Let me know, and hopefully we can do that. And Raptors basketball is back. Let's end on that one. Yeah, Raptors basketball is back. And this is the Raptors basketball that has led to every successful iteration of the Raptors. Defense, two-way, connected, playing for each other. That's what led to the championship. That's what led to We the North. That's what led to that miracle season in 2006, 2007. It's going to happen again. All right. What's the gap between Cam Thomas and Jordan Clarkson? Not much. Not much. All right. Talk to y'all later. Bye.